I think we are. I think we're back, Rail. We're back on the official stream, the official UKL broadcast. We just got off X7 stream where Lucendi, they took down X7. It was a wild game, if I'm honest. Rail, why don't you tell us a little bit how it went down?
So the crazy part about this game is X7's map movements in this game, in the early and mid game, were absolutely insane. Everywhere the Lee Sin and TF went together, they were just gank buddies. They both kept just abusing the bot lane, not letting Ziggs play the actual game, and just saying, "Okay, Hawkeye, sorry, you're not allowed. Stay away from this tower. Shoo your butt away. We're gonna take first tower down here." And there was just absolutely dominance from the early and mid game. And then it just got to a point where Composites got so many good ults in fights that it started turning things around. It started just buying time for Hawkeye to put up free damage for his team. And even the Poppy brought up a fair bit of value towards the later in the game. Reese had some very, very big hooks. And it started just turning bit by bit by bit. And Lucendi actually ended up turning the game on its head, coming out with a win.
They certainly did. No longer will teams be down and out if you just take the early game. You've got to push all the way through to the win if you want to get it sewn up. But let's see if Munster Rugby can put up a repeat performance against Nox. They took this matchup last time in a long, drawn-out struggle of a game as we're into the pick and bans. And we've got a lot to talk about so far already.
Yeah, so last time these teams played, I'm going to run down the Monster comp and then run down the Nox comp. Time these teams played was Set, Olaf, Corki, Kaiser, Nautilus. That was the Monster Rugby Gaming comp, and they actually came out on top with a win. I remember got critiqued quite hard for picking Set, and then Set came up in massive value in that game. For the side of Nox, they played the Silas top lane with the Lee Sin mid, with the Kindred jungle, with a Jin Karma. This time we're getting a complete different dynamic. A fair few things have changed since.
They certainly have, and we currently have the Gwen, Thresh, and Aphelios for Nox. Aphelios, Thresh really coming back into prominence on this latest patch, and Gwen still strong as ever. Whereas Munster Rugby, they've managed to get plenty of power of their own. They've got the Akali, they've got the Xin Zhao for Goose, and another Nautilus down there for Longstaff. I really love the fact that Munster are targeting Rugger's pool right now, with the Nocturne, with the Silas, because we haven't seen too much variety out of Ruggers.
Yeah, so they're looking to focus him down a bit, pinch a bit of that mid champion pool, especially with the Akali being picked early. Obviously, it is a flexible pick. It can go towards that top side. And Jojo has been playing a little bit of it in solo queue as well, so it is definitely very flexible. Jojo's, well, not, I can't even call it Jojo's set anymore because Ruggers has also played set. Set has been taken away from him. It's not really a surprise seeing how much priority they're shown towards that champion as well.
Not really, as we're looking through the second round of picks here. Ezreal still remaining strong on this patch. Kevin's going to lock that one in. So we're going to have the Ezreal Nautilus down in bot lane, leaving a mid-top flex for Munster, depending on what they want to go for. Whereas Nox, they have the mid and top as well, still to lock in. But for them, you know, Teddy as well, the Silas ban works well against Ruggers. It works well against Teddy. They took away his Fiora too. We're going to have to see something else out of Teddy, or he could just take the Gwen.
He could indeed. He could indeed just take the Gwen. There's not really much of an issue of him taking it in the top lane. A pick I want to touch upon actually before we go further is the Aphelios. We've recently seen it by Demise. Terabyte actually had a really good game in terms of positioning and especially in team fights, just putting out a lot of damage. So, I mean, this champion has been popping up more and more and more recently, and it's been showing up in a good way.
It really, really has. Just we have word that the Amumu is in fact a Volibear for God Tier, one of the junglers that has kind of stepped up to be that pick ban level right now in this new patch when, you know, the rumbles have started to fall away and the more AP heavy or the carry junglers once again losing a bit of their power. We do have the Volibear in there and the Ziggs final pick, which I do believe is still a Ziggs. We just saw a Ziggs bot lane in our last game with X7 versus Lucendi, and it did come up huge as the game went on.
Well, I kind of just called it as well, exactly with what just happened, because we got a Victor locked in last pick for Monster Rugby Gaming, and you know what that means. That means Akali's going towards that top lane.
Yep.
So I really hope that Volibear isn't going towards top lane. I want to see Gwen Akali. I want to see a spicy top lane matchup, but then about you?
I really do, and I want to see it from JoJo as well. One of the most exciting parts for me of the last couple of weeks has been Synapse's ascension from weak side only to this more flexible style, right? We saw the Nocturne from him, we saw the Akali from him, and it was astounding. It was a whole new synapse, and I want to see the same out of Jojo. Normally, he has been on the sets, on the Scions. We haven't seen too much of the carry potential, but now he's got a chance to also step into that role.
Yeah, and I'm hyped to see it. I'm all for it, especially with what we have. What I can't even get more words out. What just happened recently with the X7 game? Raider put up quite a dominant performance, especially over Synapse. And like you just said, Synapse was on his way up. He looked like he's better and better and better. Now we have another one of the better top laners in Arcane Teddy
Yeah.
going to be matched up against JoJo. How is this one
He's
going to fare is going to be a decent story as well. So I'm excited just to see how the 1v1 or even 2v2 pans out.
Yeah, the junglers have been a big part of both of these rosters, especially Goose for Munster Rugby. In their last game, their win over, I believe it was London United, that looked very, very strong. Or no, it was Orglis. It was their last win over Orglis. Goose on the Diana was a force to be reckoned with. Part of every gank, huge team fight impact, was all over the map, making value for his team. And on the Xin Zhao, this is another champion that can do that very easily.
What's funny is just before the CJ, what did I say about Ziggs? I said before I just generally haven't really been impressed recently.
Yeah,
Before today, I haven't been impressed with Ziggs, and I've just every time I've seen it, it's just been average, or people have just dealt with it really well and shut him down.
yeah,
Last game he got shut down extremely hard,
yeah,
and I'd even say X7's bot lane just outplayed him in terms of 2v2. And it didn't matter. They bought
yeah.
time for the Ziggs to get into the game, and if that happens here as well, there's the sky's the limit. Like you can honestly just buy time for the Ziggs to become relevant, and it's going to buy so much time for your team in terms of wave management, in terms of objectives, in terms of just stalling out the game if you need to as well.
Absolutely. Ziggs really does fit into that mold, and it's a little bit of a different speed for Ruggers. We have normally seen the melee options, or the scrappier picks for Ruggers, so I'm interested to see him now on this hands-off champion, this scaling option that is going to need to be important later on. Like, where you choose to throw those ults can be very important. Playing with your team, keeping yourself alive so that you can be that force that knocks through those towers really quickly. It's going to be interesting to see if Ruggers can handle that, for sure. Going up against Beartree, who has been on a bit of a rise recently. A mid laner that we all thought was gonna be up near the top at the start of the season, had a bit of a slow start, but is now rising more up to that level.
And generally speaking, picking the Victor into the Ziggs generally isn't bad. You can clear pretty much just as well as him. Obviously, just from not the same safety what Ziggs has. But you have a massive teamfight presence with Victor. You have the gravity field, able to get multiple people locked up. You have the Chaos Storm, which does a massive amount of damage, what people always underestimate because it goes on for so long. It's going to be chasing you to the Nexus if you're not careful. It's one of them. So I mean, I'm liking both comps so far. I'm just really, really interested in that top lane matchup.
Yeah, and I want to see how the junglers involve themselves in it if they choose to as well. For me, both of these teams have really thrived as of late on being the ones finding the catches, initiating the plays, and I think they're both going to be doing that today. They're both going to be butting heads a lot for that reason, as they both try to scramble to edge out that lead.
Yeah, for sure. And like you mentioned recently, the jungle volley bear's really been picking up more and more. Still, it's quite scary into Zinzao. Zinzao still is the prominent early game champion. It's like going back a couple of seasons where you see Jarvan, it's like, okay, let's not fight with Jarvan early because it's Jarvan. This
Yeah.
is the same with Zinzao. Don't fight with him early unless you want to lose the jungle lead, unless you want to lose, I mean, any type of lead. If Zin shows up in your lane early, you know you're blowing flash, otherwise that man is going to stick to you like glue.
It certainly is. This is going to be, it's a tough one to get away with for sure. But Nox, they are now coming into this week 6-3. Okay, they are first place in the league right now. It's not really a decisive lead by any means, but nobody in this league is in kind of a decisive, oh, they're good, they're bad, they're fine. Everybody has things to bring to the table, right? But Nox, if they get this win here, they're going to go 7-3. They're going to have, I believe, a 2-win gap over at least second place, possibly for the first time anyone's had that this whole season.
Yeah, I think touching on that, people always thought the same with August when they started out. People were like, okay, this team might actually be the best team in the league. And then we obviously thought that with X7 in the first like 2 weeks. We was like, okay, this team is kind of slapping everyone, and it just shows that at this point it is all to play for. Anyone can beat anyone, and it's really, really showing in terms of play. Like last game, if that's anything to talk about, Lucendi holding on for the actual win condition, turning the game completely on its head. So it's not a race; it's a marathon at this point because
Yeah.
all these teams are very, very close.
It really, really is. I don't know if it's just the meta or what that is allowing, so much potential for teams to come back later on. Like, is it the ADC pool? Is it these mid laners coming through the Ziggs? Like, it seems like now you cannot just get a 5k lead at 15 minutes. You have to keep that lead. You've got to extend it to 10k by 25 minutes, or you could be a real threat of getting it thrown right back in your face.
I think it's two things. It's meta and it's also items. Items on this current season have just stopped a lot of champions from completely falling off in late game. You see the Lee Sins become more useful. You see the Xin Zhao's stay relevant into the late game. And it's just the likes of Gore Drinker, Stridebreaker, Divine Sundra. Just so many items are keeping champions relevant when they usually fall off. And it really has changed around the way League plays for a good way. And then you've got these champions just coming through like Yone, the Corkis. These champions are just able to just turn on game at a complete switch of a moment.
Yeah, you cannot take your eyes off them for a second. As we are on to the Rift here for game 2 of the day. Nox taking on Munster Rugby Gaming. We had a banger to start it off on the X7 stream, and now we're going to keep that energy going so far. Not at level 1 though, just a straight 5-point for both sides.
Yeah, standard 5-point. Also interesting enough, Volibear picking up the blue smite here. We'll have that after his jungle camps. Whereas the Xin opted towards standard red smite. I would like to see the red smite on the Volibear, but the slow is still going to provide a decent amount of utility for his team when he has that.
Yes, it certainly will. As we come through, as the lanes are going to be crashing before too long. But as we touched on, you said that the mid lane is kind of a farm fest. Both player sides can kind of clear out themselves. And you said you were looking more towards the top lane, right? As your potential pivotal point right here for Teddy and for Jojo. They've both gone for the Ignite TP. Now, we do see this a lot on Gwen, but is this standard on Akali now too?
Oh yeah, you see this. That's another one of the champions. And oh my god.
Oh my goodness, Miniclip already dropped super low by not respecting the brush. Kevinman and Longstaff get off to a great start in bot lane.
And why this is massive for this lane, Aphelios and Fresh would usually have that early level 1-2 pressure.
Or the flash into the dredge line onto the Aphelios. He has to drop the summoners. Another Mystic Shot flash from Kevinman. Will it do it? The first blood for Longstaff on the last Ignite tick. Kevinman taking minion damage, drops the heal just to keep himself alive, but that's exactly what Munster ordered.
What a manly support. I love seeing this from aggressive support players. This is just the stuff I live for. Like I said, that just determined the way the lane went, because Aphelios Fresh will usually have the pressure. Level 1, level 2, they'll be completely fine. Aphelios obviously having his rifle first, being able to keep at range and do really well in that matchup. So that important early cheese hook from Longstaff was massive. And then just the aggression to say, you know what? I'm flashing. Let's go. Let's keep this going.
Yeah, we're doing it. And they get the last tick of the Ignite, the exact damage needed to get that first blood. So, Munster, as we said, I was expecting these teams to butt heads. They're both going to be looking for plays to get that lead early. Munster has the first move. Will they be able to keep the pace up?
That is going to be the main story of this game. Can they keep the pace up? We've seen that last game. X7 had all the pacing, but then the game got slowed down. And how did it get slowed down? There was a Ziggs. What's in this game? There's a Ziggs.
Divinus flashes in. Oh, both junglers are here as well. In comes Godter, and the TPs are raining down. It's all popping off. Kevinman, trapped in the alcove, is going to have to give his life up to Miniclip, while the rest of Munster run for the hills, but Longstaff gets the dredge line, gets the shield, doesn't have the flash. Will it be enough to keep him alive? Godter rampaging into the bot side jungle, but Goose is there, flashing in with the 3 talent strike, going to get the knockup. Has to flash himself right back outright, though, and it's just the 1 kill for Nox in the end.
Crazy amounts of pressure towards his bot side already. Everyone moving across for that. Godter might be even...
Yoink.
I'm
Did you get
so
it?
sad for him.
Oh, he
Victor
got it.
Victor got it. I seen the goal pop up. I was like, no way
Oh.
did that just happen, because Goose could honestly go straight to that scuttle. With the pressure of Victor right now, obviously Victor is a little bit low on mana, but Goose can go straight for that scuttle. She'll be able to take it free of contention as well, so that's just even worse for Gutter to lose that free scuttle.
Yeah, not what you want to see right now. They are going to get that topside scuttle and get the gold nice and even slightly in their favor as well. But as far as mid lane goes, it's nice gold for Beartree. They, I imagine, still just going to be farming it out right here. I feel like Victor is more useful than Ziggs early on, like for the skirmishes.
Yeah, I'd 100% agree. I'd say Victor just provides that extra value, especially with, like I said, the gravity field providing a
So
lot.
good.
Obviously being able to shield himself and do a fair decent bit of damage with his Q, and obviously the laser doesn't cost too much mana early game, so you put a few more points into it, so should be able to be fine there, but obviously going a bit Uber in that mid lane is just going to make him be pushed in.
Yeah, gonna have to take that L right there, as Monster still in control of the bot lane right here with the Ezreal Nautilus. So you see Ruckus actually getting pretty aggressive onto Beartree, wants to force him to use that TP, or maybe a more summoners, and there's the last auto. It's not enough for the kill, but he's got to go back now.
1 HP in a dream, practically. This man just gets away with his life. Did still have the flash, but what a greedy boy. He just shows back up and is like, yeah, never mind, I needed a little bit more minions. Just shows up, collects them, and is casually going to escape on such low HP.
Beartree gets away with it with a lost chapter. First Spy going to be very happy with that. Working his way towards the first upgrade. We see a potential play onto the mid lane. Hex Flash channeled by Longstaff, but Ruckus plenty safe on the Ziggs using the range right up here. So far, we're not seeing that much out of top lane right here. The junglers have been a bit busy on the bot side.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of can't blame them. Neither team wants to flip top lane matchup right now, because whoever gets the first kill in that matchup really is going to determine a lot.
They've got Kevinman. He's got their flash. They've got the root. They've got the ignite. They've got everything, and they've got the kill. Goose and Longstaff here, but got to make sure this is not an even fight. And Munster forced to go back behind their tower. Goose taking a fair bit of damage with a fat wave stacked up as well. Mini Clips looking confident here.
Not only that, the mid laners are both fighting their way down to bot lane, which is really funny interaction from them, really.
Yeah, they're just like shoulder to shoulder, like pushing at each other. Like, I want to get there first. No, let me go first. The Ziggs ult did get dropped and it pushed Longstaff down to a sliver. TP was committed by Jojo as well. That's so nice for Teddy, who was falling a little behind before.
Yeah, and he mainly fell behind because when he TP'd the bot lane. And now who TP'd the bot lane? So
Yep.
Teddy gets this chance to catch back up. Is going to be fine, but they are friends in towards the top side already. He does have his whole top jungle to clear, so he will be clearing that. There will be Rift Herald not too soon, so few objectives toward that top side going to be worrying about now. It would have been nice actually to early swap this bot lane up there to sort of collect that for free, because this is how this should go anyway. This bot lane 2v2 is meant to go Aphelios fresh favored.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been seeing now, and that's generally how it's supposed to go when you don't get level 1 hooked by a Nautilus.
Yes, we're kind of back to normality down here in the bot lane. Nox comfortably up in gold right there, but it is MRG who are up in gold across the rest of the map, more or less. So once it comes down to the mid game, we should be able to see Beartree and Jojo having a bit more of an effect.
Yeah, and that's going to be very, very important. Just mainly to see if they can pull off the team fights well enough with Beartree and Jojo. So far, honestly, it's been Ruggers kind of winning that 1v1 matchup every time you've seen Ziggs and Victor go at it. But
Yeah.
Ziggs is a little bit down on CS. It's not going to hurt him too much. He'll be able to catch up quite convincingly. But just in general of the 1v1, the Ziggs has been taking quite control on that.
Yeah, if he got that kill earlier, you know, that would kind of wipe the slate clean. And be like, okay, now it's worth. He's gone for all these trades, perhaps giving up CS to go for damage, but he couldn't quite find the kill. And so Beartree does have a little bit of gold to play with right now. But across the rest of this map, we do have dragons spawning and heralds as well. We haven't seen any attempt at the dragon thus far, but to be honest, Nox is probably pretty favored down there, right? They've got such a strong bot lane compared to Monster at this point in the game.
Oh, for sure. That's something you kind of don't want to mess with unless you're going to send 4 or 5 members. It
Yeah.
is a very, very scary one to deal with. And if Aphelios is protected, we all know the damage he can put out. This champion can be absolutely ridiculous if he's given the right protection.
Certainly can. It is actually Munster taking the reset timers perhaps to start up this dragon. I think they're just going to get it uncontested. So Nox not going to use that bot lane power as of yet. It's going to be Munster picking that up, though of course Nox are still about a K ahead in the gold. However, let us not forget the last time these two teams clashed. Nox was ahead early then, but it was still Munster who came out with the win at the end of the day. Oh,
Yeah,
they've gone straight on for the ult committal, but knocked Nautilus deep under the tower. Divinus going to keep him locked up there and just take the kill.
Well, I did say you needed multiple members down here to make it happen, but not quite like that.
Yeah, a little bit disjointed timing-wise. Yeah, Victor and Goose were on the way, but just not quite on there, not quite in time there.
Yeah, and it's honestly just giving more and more of a lead over this Nox bot lane. And on the other side of the map, they picked up top tower for 3D's Herald up there. They are now at 17.3k gold. They're starting to accumulate a fair lead here.
They certainly are. All of a sudden, Munster, continuing the bot lane focus, has found themselves losing out across the map. Goose trying to find something onto Ruggers when becomes lightning will land, but definitely not safe to push it further.
Yeah, and Longstaff just spotting out the jungler here is going to provide some decent information for his team to say, okay, like, Volibear's on this side of the map. We know exactly where he is now. He can't really pressure anywhere else for the mid, so pretty much everyone's around mid.
Yeah, just hanging out, looking for something to get done. We haven't really seen too much out of either of the junglers, right? 0-0 and 0 across both times, showing up for the fights, but not being able to get so much done in them as of yet. So maybe expected a little bit more action coming through from these picks that kind of are geared towards making things happen early, right? Very strong, scrappy champions.
Yeah, and interesting enough as well, top lane, 0 deaths between them, 0 kills between them. Might be about to change because Zinzal's up here, but Gwen is fairly safe for now.
Even with the mist on cooldown, it's not really at the point where they can 100 to nothing her. Gonna crash that wave in nice and calmly, but bot lane, they have pushed them all the way off that tower, and it's more plates for Nox. It is split among 3 members, but it's still gold ramping up on the bottom side, and Munster's answer on top hasn't really gotten that much done.
Yeah, and look at that CS gap in the bot lane right now. That is disgusting.
Oh dear.
91 CS to 68. Pretty much like we said, this is how it's meant to go, but
Eddie has found Goose. He's forced the flash. The needlework comes through, but both of these champions have do-nothing buttons on cooldown right there. The Crescent Guard keeps Goose alive. The Blast Cone allows Teddy to follow. Is he in range? The needlework strikes once again. Jojo running through the jungle. It's not going to be enough time for Teddy to find anything more.
why has there been so many weird interactions like that this game? Like, we've had both the mid laners who can't really do too much early, just have that little tug of war trying to get to bot lane, having that little race saying, no, I'm going to beat you. No, I'm going to beat you. And then we have the top side where Teddy says, no, you're not diving me. And then Goose is saying, no, you're not diving me. And it's just a backwards and forwards. 2 champions are saying, okay, I have this button, but I have this button.
Yeah, while all of this kind of comedy show's been going on, Nox's bot lane just been going, alright, we'll just take bot lane tower, and they're going to take that objective for free, extend even more of a gold lead. The Aphelios is going to be absolutely terrifying come the mid-game. Divinus does catch Longstaff with a hook, but they're not going to punt it on a fight there just yet.
So the main important thing for Munster is can they catch the Aphelios? Can Longstaff find an entrance to catch him out again? If he can, that's going to actually be able to turn the game a lot in their direction. And I mean, he got caught early. Other than that, he generally hasn't been caught, and he's got a Mortal Shield Bow now, so it's going to be a bit tankier, a bit harder to instantly burst, especially when the rest of your team don't have items just yet. It's going to take a little bit more to get him down.
It's very tough to do. We've seen how long it can take to get down an Aphelios in those later game team fights. Currently, it was 2 levels up on Kevinman just before he got to soak up that bot lane wave. The disparity in that bot lane cannot be understated, right? But then we look towards mid lane, they've both been farming it out. They're almost level 11, so we could start to see a little bit more from both of these players, especially considering that Ruggers has the Mythic done.
He does have the Mythic fully completed, has the Ludens.
Okay. That's a...
Oh!
That was a play.
Okay.
That was a lot of damage, certainly, so, you know.
I never thought about that interaction. Aphelios being able to root up so it guarantees the Ziggs ult landing.
Yeah.
Didn't really think about that. Imagine that in a team fight together. The Graviton ult with Ziggs being around a dragon, for example. That can literally just be game winning because you can wipe 3 people out at a point. But it's all going to depend on items, obviously. They both don't have too much damage just yet because they wasn't able to follow up with much else. So that's all they were going to get from it.
Yeah, for sure. And that was a rank 1 ultimate from Ruggers. Just the 2 ultimates landing did a little over half of Beartree's HP. They have now found Arcane Teddy and they've hooked up cancelled the recall. They're looking for 3 versus 1, but look at the damage being fired back onto the Nautilus with a TP through from Ruggers. This play from Munster is getting very, very hairy. Drops the Crescent Guard, trying to keep himself alive. Hallowed Miss as well, doing the same job. In comes Beartree. Needs to finish off Teddy right now with the Chaos Storm, but he's dropped so low for the effort. Jojo now arriving, but hooked by Divinus, flashed out of the box, flies back in with the Shuriken. Who is going to come out on top right here? Beartree, the last ignite, ticking through the heel from Keverman, but it's not enough as Divinus slices him down with the chains and Godter in with the Stormbringer and a flash to Jojo. Bouncing Bong, zongs it out and Godter picks up the kill. Keverman nowhere to run, the final casualty for Munster. It's all coming up, Nox.
Who's found who is the big question. They thought they found Arcane Teddy in the top side, and you just seen Longstaff disappear off your screen. The man got absolutely obliterated. The Gwen ult damage coming through massively. And then just the team already there to react and just cancel out every single bit of movement they tried to make happening towards that top side. And just turn it on their head, picking up the Herald as well. Pretty much a clean wipe for Nox there.
Yeah, they managed to turn that very well back for themselves. Over 6,000 gold in the lead for Nox at this point. And one of the most exciting parts of this game for me has been Ruggers. The question mark that I had for him, can he only play Nocturne? Can he only play scrappy melee champions? Absolutely not. 2-0 and 3 on the Ziggs. Rotating well to the plays. Great use of the ultimate. He's looking so good.
Is indeed. And like coming into this, Ruggers has had a lot of criticism. And so far, he's been doing really, really well on the Ziggs pick. And has constantly been hitting bombs. It's been right place, right time. Definitely deserves a lot more credit.
Yeah, let's give him all that he deserves here today. Ziggs has always been a bit of a UKEL special back to the Lucent days with Nice Guy Dom whipping it out in the playoffs and drawing bans after completely smashing games on it. Now the pick is basically meta, and these players are not hesitating to pick it up, doing a whole lot of work with this champion.
And talking of work, they're looking to catch nothing. They're looking to catch air. That's all they're looking for.
Yep. Cannot find it, and they don't want to push for more. Even though the lantern's down, you know, they know that Godter is in the area. They cannot take an even fight against this combo. They are just too far behind.
Yeah, and that's the issue. Getting behind against Aphelios hurts like hell. Like, trying to get back in the game as an Ezreal when Aphelios is ahead of you, you're gonna be waiting a long, long time.
Goose found out Teddy on the blast cone, but Godter is there to support once again. In comes the Ziggs bomb, cancelled out the damage from the Crescent Guard, and Beartree over the wall. Keverman firing out the Mystic shots, dive back in for Goose. Longstaff here to try and catch out Ruggers, but the bouncing bombs, the satchel charges will keep him safe, and Nox, they don't lose a man.
And this is why Nox is fairly rated as in one of the teams what a lot of people are waiting on. Divinus were a massive hook there.
What a hook from Divinus. This guy is so good for Nox right now. As soon as he came onto the team, we saw the effect it was happening, and the dude just keeps on lining up the winners.
He keeps on giving, and they're not stopping here because they have a Rift Herald. They have a Ziggs. Sieging is easy for them.
It really, really is. They're going to get the second charge off here, or it's even the first charge. They didn't even need the first one, and there's the turret going down. Not going to take for the inhibitors. A lot of Monster members are on board and don't want to be funneling gold into them, but it is even more success for Nox. These teams were butting heads a lot early on, it has to be said, but Nox had the stronger bot lane, and all of the fights were on bot lane. So now they're winning. I guess it makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense, and to be honest, just nothing has gone the way of Monster. They tried to make stuff happen in the early game, and they just got absolutely red in everything they wanted to do. They wanted to shut down bot lane, they got completely red on it, and said, okay, you're not touching our bot lane, our 2v2's safe, we're going to protect the 2v2 as well, so you're definitely not going to do a single thing.
Absolutely not. This is our #1 team, and they're really looking like it today. They are showing so much quality across the board, and it's great that it doesn't always need to be the Teddy show. You know, normally we're looking at, oh, he's on the Silas, he's on Akali, he's on Fiora, he's popping off, and Teddy is leading the charge through the rest of the game. But Divinus making sure that bot lane, even with mini clip down there instead of Hades, is still looking so strong. Cannot just focus out on one lane against Nox. You just can't. You've got to keep an eye on everybody, and teams just haven't found the answer yet, it seems.
Yeah, and the 2v2 in the bot lane just has been so well played by Nox. Despite the early game blunder, like,
Yeah.
I'll give that more to just Longstaff outplay, because it's one thing to get a cheese hook, but it's one thing to then proceed to flash and go for another hook when
Yeah.
he was practically behind a minion and pull it off. So, other than that, generally speaking, Nox's bot lane has played really, really well in this game.
They really, really have. But as we get through towards closing up to the 20-minute mark, Nox with a sizable 6,000 gold lead in their favor, looking to set up this next dragon, I imagine. What is the call for Monster right here? Can they rest on their laurels and try and scale up, or is the pressure on for them to really try and find an active way back into this matchup?
They honestly really need to find an active way back into this matchup, just because, like I said about the Ezreal Aphelios thing, it's going to take a long, long time for Ezreal to become as relevant as Aphelios. Look at Aphelios' items right now. Ezreal just finished 1.
Yeah.
Aphelios has 2 full completed items. He has so much protection in this team comp, even he can just stand next to Ziggs as well for even extra protection with a minefield. It's really, really going to be difficult. It really is based on Longstaff or JoJo just buying time for their team to potentially jump on someone.
Yeah, here comes the jumping though onto Bear Tree with the Volibear ult coming through. Has escaped right now, but Teddy is chasing them down and finds the kill. Bear Tree trapped on the wrong side of town. It's going to be another casualty for Monster.
Yeah, another casualty, and it's getting worse and worse for them because they're going to look towards Baron very soon. And there's not really going to be a lot what can stop them.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is right now. Goose has to go for some sort of miracle steal, but he doesn't have flash. If he ends up in the pit, that's a one-way ticket. They've got the vision. Keverman is there, and Jojo could look to wreak some havoc. Zigzalt finds nobody. Divinus almost catches out Keverman, but will not do it. They have stopped the Baron here for now.
The key phrase is for now, because I don't think it's going to be much time before they just go straight back towards that Baron, because this team melts Baron. You have Aphelios, you have Gwen. Gwen is insanely good at Baron especially, so it's just going to be a case of them setting up again, waiting for a pick. As soon as they've got that one pick, they're just going to turn their attention to Baron, say, okay, you have to come and fight us. Otherwise, we're going to take Baron and probably just look towards ending the game. And if you're going to fight us, we have Aphelios.
Yeah, we were happy to let you come in and try and opt into that one, folks. And if they get the Baron, they've got the Ziggs. They have some of the strongest sieging power in the game. The towers are going to be melting like butter.
Yep, for sure. You see them just trying to check around the Baron now, trying to get whatever vision they can get down without overextending a bit too much.
Trying to take some control of their jungle is Monster. They have decent vision on the bot side at least, but without that, the Baron is really the top side is where the important action's going to be going down. Jojo, without even the TP, is going to have it soon, but not quite just yet. We really haven't seen anything out of the Akali this game. It's been quiet for both top laners for most of the time, it must be said. But Akali, we know how impactful this champion can be, and I think we really needed to see more out of Jojo here.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate with the Akali pick here. 'Cause it's so hard to play Akali into this team of Nox,
Yeah.
especially with the champions what have been picked. It just means that Akali can just literally get turned on. They can literally just wait. They can throw down a minefield into the shroud and just say, okay, if you step on a single one, we know exactly where you are, and then you're getting hooked.
It's very tough to navigate. Hasn't found a way through just yet, but the game is not done for now. With only a 7,000 gold lead for Nox. Only got 2 dragons though, not close to the Ocean Soul point as of yet. And MRG can try and find a way back through here. Nox right now just kind of pushing the waves out. Maybe trying to set up for a Baron bait, or maybe just waiting out the next dragon and going for that win condition.
That's the thing. Nox can do whatever they want at this point because it's going to take Monster a long time to become relevant. Victor's getting quite strong. That is to be said. Victor is probably going to be one of the saving graces right now because he's going to be able to clear waves pretty decent for the side of Monster. He just needs that little bit of protection just so he can walk up a tiny bit, throw down the laser, and be away with his time.
Yeah, Bear Tree does have the opportunity to step up and keep them alive in this game right now. Teddy and Godtur sitting on that bottom side, trying to pressure, trying to keep Jojo contained down there. All the TPs are now live, and if any play starts being made by either team, you know everybody's going to be showing up for it.
Yeah, everyone's going to be showing up for that, and something's going on.
We've had a slight technical issue. It almost looked like some sort of meme video, honestly, going through with the comedy zoom, but I imagine we will get that back online as soon as possible. But talking about these two teams, there we go, straight back into it. Nobody has died, so lucky for us.
Or we're just trying to trip you with a ward. We're just trying to make you guess. Did that ward get cleared?
Yeah.
Did it get cleared with Divinus living with his life? And the answer was yes. Like he's completely fine. But we're back. That's what matters.
We are back. That is what matters. Nox, once again, still in control. And they don't seem like they're feeling the pressure right now. Like you said, they can do whatever they want, but they're not necessarily looking for plays. They're just kind of shoving the waves out. They're not even really fishing. Divinus with a little bit more restraint than usual. Now the dragon is live. They have gone straight over to it. So I feel like the Ocean Soul might be their endgame.
Yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunate that it's an Ocean Soul for Monster because you do have decent poke with Ezreal and Victor, but
it just doesn't matter now, does it?
with Ocean Soul, that's just kind of saying, okay, I see your Ezreal, I raise you an Ocean Soul, we have baby Warmogs. Yeah. What are you gonna do about it?
It's a tough answer to that question, what Monster will do about it, and now Nox tending over towards this Baron. Perhaps they are ready to kick it into a higher gear. Scoping out these brushes, Monster with plenty of bodies in the area as well. Both these teams do have engage options as well with the supports, with the junglers. It's the who blinks first.
Pretty much that, and there's a big item difference in terms of this game right now. So the saving grace for Monster, if they can get 1 or 2 kills and escape more or less without dropping everyone, that's generally okay for them. There's some decent bounties on the enemy team that if they get 1 or 2, they can start clawing back at this gold lead. They can start clawing their way back into this game. It's just, like I said, if they can get out without losing everyone.
Yeah, it takes, I think, so much effort to get onto Gumayusi and to finish him when he has a Thresh support, he's got summoners, and they have to escape with their lives. They have to try and get away with that one without losing their whole team, as Nox have now started up this Baron. Monster scrambling back towards this pit. They know they have to fight it now, they can't leave this through. They've got the TP, though, from Jojo, and Nox will take that one and peel right off.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I mean. This is still Nox's game. They don't have to overforce something. They're going to be like, alright, you've blown your TP. Now we're just going to keep pressuring bot with Teddy. You're going to have to answer, and then we go back to Baron. If you answer with more than one, we're taking Baron.
Teddy looking for Bear Tree right now. Isn't going to find him just yet on the walk past. So now they've swapped out their remaining TP holder into the bot side for Monster. Nox, I mean, if they just do the same play again, I guess they can take the other TP. And then just, you know, rinse and repeat until there's none left. But they are taking a reset right now. And I imagine Gumayusi has a lot of gold to spend right here.
See, you hit the nail on the head. It seems like a meme, but they can literally just run it back and be like, okay, use your next TP. What are you going to do about it? And then it could just be a case of, okay, like, we can wait. We have scaling. We have Aphelios. We have Ziggs. We have Gwen. We are more than fine messing around with our food and just saying, okay, where's your next TP or else?
Yeah, or else. We will take that last win and extend that lead over. Munster really want to get this one so they can join the middle of the pack. Still plenty of games to play, it must be said. And of course, playoffs is top 6, so Munster are still in the picture. But with Lucendi just being done taking a win over X7, if Munster lose here, they're tied on the same score, right? With London Academy one space behind. So they are far from confirmed into the playoffs picture from this position.
Want to say as well, actually, there's some big items being picked up recently. Obviously, I like Victor that he's picked up a Banshee's Veil here, and he's even picked up some Magic Pen there. It's definitely going to help him out with shredding through this front line. The Blighting Jewel is going to give him a decent amount of Magic Pen. It's going to give him about 15%. So, like I said, Bear Tree is kind of the one to watch. Jojo just has to buy time for his team at this point. He just has to dive whenever he goes into a team fight and just say, okay, focus me so Bear Tree can do damage. Otherwise, if they keep playing this 1-3-1 game, they're just going to get choked out in terms of side lane pressure, and it's really not going to do anything for Munster. Munster are just going to be slowly losing this game. We might be here for 40 minutes at this rate if they can't find something, basically.
Gold lead is gradually opening up for Nox. They're about 7k before we hit this long, drawn-out stage. Now it's closer to 8, getting close towards 9. Nox are going to be able to leverage this very powerfully in the next fight. And now the next fight, I think, on the table is the Ocean Soul. They have stalled it out long enough. They've got their buys. Look at Gumayusi. He just got the Infinity Edge. Aphelios is a monster right here.
He is a monster, and I mean, the thing is, like I said, there's a fair few bounties on the table. They just need to get 1 or 2 without losing every single member. They don't have to give something for it. They have to give an objective for it. But if they wait too long, it's going to get to a point where they're just going to wait for Elder and say, okay, if you want to flip this, we're going to take Elder, and that's just going to be even worse for you.
Here we are at this Ocean Soul fight. Arcanteri on the top side right now. Does have the TP, could commit it if he wants to. The rest of Munster all bunched up, looking to take control. It's a flash up from Longstaff. That's how they started the game out so well. Will it be what they need right now? Godter holding line on the front side. Longstaff now out with a shield. Arcanteri's arrived. Bear Tree has fallen. The critical member from Munster is the first to hit the floor, and the rest will topple like dominoes. Nox, they waited out for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, but when they find the fight, what a fight it is. It's a clean ace for them, and they can just run it down the mid lane.
Did you see that Zigzag? It hit 3 members, dropping them to about 40-30%. Absolutely demolishing them from the fight alone, and even if they got 1 pick, it wouldn't be enough just because of that Zigzag alone. That was absolutely disgusting.
That's the only word for it. Absolutely disgusting fight by Nox all the way through this game. Besides that early kerfuffle, they were been in control versus Munster. They'll take a decisive win here today. They're up to 7-3. They are definitively the top team in the league right now. Munster still chasing the bottom of that mid pack, still trying to get back in that groove.
Now my question is, and this is going to be a hard one, and you're going to hate this.
Oh,
Who
boy.
would you actually give MVP? Would you give it Ruggers or would you give it Divinus here? Because they both did massive, massive work in this game.
I mean, I love Ziggs so much, and I'm glad that Ruggers has stepped into it, and I really think that was very, very impactful. Divinus, of course, every game, right, Divinus is such an important factor for Nox in terms of creating advantages for the team. But I think I would give it to Ruggers just because we haven't seen this style of champion before. This is a confirmation that he's not just a Nocturne one-trick. There are more strings to this bow, and very powerful strings as that. As you said, that last Zigzalt was devastating, and Ruggers played out the matchup and the game pretty much to perfection.
That's fair. I think I would have done the same. I think I would have gave it Ruggers. Just one from the 1v1 matchup in the mid lane. He got pressure over Victor, where Victor should really be a certain early game pressure over him.
Yeah.
So the fact that he already had that, he had the option to rotate faster than Victor to help his team towards that bot side, to even say you can't touch our bot lane and give him a bit more safety. And this is just a different style of Nox, which we've seen again. They've played so many different styles. And to say that they've just put Ruggers on Ziggs this time and just said, okay, Ruggers, have fun, you play you. And he looked actually really, really aggressive on the Ziggs throughout.
You certainly did. The balance of power in the UKL has shifted. Nox up at the top, the rest scrabbling to keep up. We do have 2 more games here today, though. They're going to be taken over by Darksoul and Doctor. I have been Trajan, joined by Rail. It has been a pair of bangers, despite the fact that, across 2 different streams, it's been a wild start to the day. I'm expecting a wild finish to it. You don't want to miss out. We'll see you all in a few minutes.
Welcome back to the UKEL. I said it just a split second too early. I am, of course, Darksel. I'm joined by Doctor. We have a couple of bangers ahead of us today. It is Orglis versus London Esports Academy, followed by the Demise London United game. So, Harry, what do you think of the following match? Orglis, they're doing okay since they are sitting at, let me double check my notes here, sitting at 5-4, so not too bad. Very smack bang in the middle of our pack.
Yeah, bit of a downturn, you could say, from their start of the split performances.
That's true.
They had a lot going on, and
Still
then now
doing
got to work out. Got a new bot lane coming in. Got to work out some of those cracks, and hopefully they can pick things back up a little bit, moving on into the latter end of the season. But we're already into picks and bans, and so that means, of course, you got to get rid of Peruzak, and you got to get rid of Yujang's Fiora.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that you have to be banning away that Fiora from the top laner of Orglis. Just a monster on that pick. Peru, again, likes to default to that Zac, as you said. So taking away some more of these power picks in the Nocturne, the Kali, the Xin Jiao, of course, a very high priority pick for the jungle.
Oh yeah, especially one of Malako's preferred champions as well. And get that Nocturne, get away from Peru, get away from Fidel also. Because, it's worth noting that there's a bit of a feud, to say, going on in this game. Obviously, with the situation between Fidel and Nerd Rage during the off-season, or just before the season started, you can tell this is kind of an important game for LDNA and for Fidel in specific.
Yeah, just a little bit of a grudge match here, I think you could say, for Fidel and for Orglis. But where's the priority going to be put? It looks like it will be for the AD carry. I am King locking in that Varus.
Yeah, sure. Keep that one up and available. Why not look for the B1? But that means we've still got options. You know, Karma, Lulu, Ezreal, Viego, Gwen, all still up and available alongside some of your old classic junglers like Rumble, if LDN Academy want to go for any of those.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of curious as to why they decided to put the early priority on the Varus, since a lot of teams don't like to go for that early pick of the AD carry. They like to pick that solo laner, perhaps for the mid lane or the top lane, the power pick. Like you already mentioned, the Gwen is still up and available. And now on the other side, for the side of London Esports Academy, the early pick of the Lilia, a pick we haven't really seen in quite a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but it's always been something that, you know, Puru has felt particularly comfortable on. I think he was busting that one out in various Newell and NSE, you know, finals and semi-finals and so on there. So understandably he wants that one, but then they pair it up with the Camille as well. So still leaving open those power picks. And the Camille is something you kind of really need to have your whole comp built around, and you don't want to be giving Yijang the counter pick up in top lane. You know, Camille has a real hard time versus things like Jax and Renekton, and those are the duelists, the 1v1ers, the side laners that Yujang loves to play.
Yeah, and with the AD carry locked in for Orgulus, it feels like you could have just locked in your AD carry there, not giving away your solo laner, to kind of just give any information over to Orgulus to get that counter pick, as you mentioned, for Yu Zhang. And it looks like they just lock in their jungler or perhaps their mid laner for the Karthus.
Well, we've seen Malako play that Karthus jungle before, so I'll take the relatively safe assumption that that's where it's going this time around, and then they're going getting locked on in for Yu Zhang. And I'm not actually sure how that matchup goes, but I can only assume that it's pretty good for the Gwen, because A, most matchups are, and B, Yijang probably doesn't pick it if it's not.
Yeah, and the fact that Gwen has one of the best level 1 and 2 in the entire game at the moment, it feels like Camille will just have to sit back and wait for that level 3 power spike when they have all of those abilities. But even then, it feels like you will be on the back foot for the majority of the game, or at least for the first maybe 15 or 20 minutes. The next round of bans we are going to go quickly through as the Galio gets locked in for the side of London Esports Academy. The Lucian taken away from LOL there in the middle lane. Want to take that away from the hands of that capability carry player in the middle lane.
But with the Galio being locked in, it is starting to give a bit of direction over to London Academy, and they're looking for a lot of dive, a lot of all-in. You know, we've seen Fidel bust out the Galio before, and he didn't have a great time last time he laned up against Galul. So maybe, you know, going for something just a little bit safer, a bit more team-oriented is feeling a bit more comfortable for him this time. But, you know, Camille Galio, you're looking to dive, and I don't think that diving is your best bet when you're versus a Karthus and a Gwen, who are two champions that are very happy if you bring the fight to them. What with the Defile as well as the Hallowed Mist, because, you know, if the Galio and the Camille dive in onto Gwen, onto Yujang, he just drops his W and dashes back, and then suddenly the entire rest of the squad cannot touch him, and he wins 1v2 because it's Gwen, right? And on top of that, Karthus is just putting out AoE the entire time. It's a rough dive if you're on London Academy right now, but they've sort of really hard committed to it.
They really, really have. It's the classic Camille Galio comp that we casters like to talk about quite a lot because of how good and how potent it can be. But as you said, if it gets this Varus against Karthus and Gwen, it can be just so hard to execute. So that ease of execution, at least right now, is heavily in favor of Orglis. But they lock in the Sivir. They have that 500 CS Sivir win condition for Rush X.
But again, all still leading into that same, yeah, we just run at you idea. But I think Orglis are really happy with. So now Orglis stuff to do is just figure out, what do we want mid, what do we want support? And honestly, at this point, I feel like you can just kind of slap anything in. You know, maybe you just get yourself a nice, again, bit of control, bit of poke on mid. And I believe that Jace was the pick. Yeah, Jace was the pick last time. No, he did Cassiopeia versus London Academy last time that Orglis played. It was Jace for next week. So we've seen Galul's Jace before, and it's pretty spooky.
It's pretty strong. It is, and I feel like it's worth mentioning at this point that the last time Orglis and London Esports Academy did meet each other in the first round robin, it was, of course, Nerd Rage at the time. It was, of course, Orglis that took that win. So Orglis looking to run it back, get that 6th win of the UKEL Summer Split. They lock in a very aggressive and kind of a defensive support in many ways with the amount of CC that she can actually provide in team fights or even in the laning phase in that Leona.
And Leona has a great time versus Sivir as well, because, Sivir, the spell shield, it blocks the root part of Leona's E, but it does not stop Leona throwing herself at you at 200 miles an hour. So it's very difficult for Rushex to get out if he ever missteps or oversteps. And so we pair it up with the rail, get a nice bit of disengage there, and again, something that works with this all-in, but with the Varus and Jace now being a combo for August as well, again, the worry here for London Academy is, okay, you just get poked out, by these two AD spell slingers, and then if ever you do find the engage, you are able to get the dive that you want. Again, you're diving into a Gwen, you're diving into a Karthus, and now a Leona as well. It's a very, very difficult game for London Academy unless they can get a strong snowball going really early on.
And it is such an important game for London Esports Academy because they're sitting at 3-6, so that's tied for 7th place with Lucendi, which means they need to be getting these wins to try and separate themselves from that bottom of the table, try and get into this middle of the pack, since we have 3 teams at 5-4 tied for, I think it's 4 teams as of today, tied for that 2nd place. It's X7, Orglis, London United, and Demise sitting in that 2nd place spot. They're only 2 wins behind that. If they get this win, it will really, really help them actually secure themselves maybe that playoffs run.
Yeah, I mean, as we're coming into the later half of the split, every single win is really starting to add up. Any distance you can get yourself away from those, bottom relegation slots or closer to those playoff spots is going to be really valuable. But looking at this game in particular, I'm worried for London Academy. I'm thinking, what do they do? How do they get themselves into a winning position? Because they need the strong early snowball. And from what we've seen of August before, especially when Malako gets his hands on something like the Karthus, that's going to be really difficult to pull off. So I think London Academy, we've got to try and just shut down the map really early, because you're versus the Jace, the Varus, they're going to spike hard, and they're going to spike on just one item. So you really need to get something going. Maybe with Puru, just get some early invades off, see what you can do to try and stop Malako, because you're against a lot of strong early champions. You've got a lot of scaling on your side, and the only way that you win is with a very strong early game. So they're going to need to be some shenanigans for sure.
Yeah, it feels like you need to play very proactively. If you just sit on your laurels, you just sit back, wait for your scaling to kick in, because of course you still do have you have that Sivir and you have that Camille, which really, really scale super, super well. But so does a Karthus. You have the Karthus on the side that's just, okay, I'm just going to keep ulting pretty much off cooldown if it's going to be worth, if you can get those Dark Harvest stacks. And there's just barely anything that you can do about it. It can turn the tide of a team fight, or it can even shove you off of objectives if they have sufficient enough vision that they know how low your health bar is. And it's like, okay, I'll just use my Requiem here.
Yeah,
you get chunked to half health. You have to push away from the Baron.
You don't even need the Requiem for that. Don't need to scale for that. You've got Karthus, but you've also got the Varus and the Jace. You just need one item.
Very true. Yeah.
One item, maybe 2 tops, and the game is very, very scary for London Academy. So yes, there is a scaling threat on the side of August, but they don't need it. They really don't, because they've got, a bully lane, top, mid, and bot, a strong early game jungler that also scales, and then everyone's spiking hard on 1 item, on 2 items. 6 items. August, maybe have a chance, but London Academy maybe have a chance. But at the same time, they can't take the fights the way they want to by diving in, because you don't want to dive into the Karthus, especially once he's got his Zhonya's. So London Academy, their only real shot is to just cheese something early, get a absolute juicer of a lead off of that one, and then just continually force fights into the side of August whilst they're still like a full item ahead, and just try to snowball the game out of control.
So it feels like if it has to be the perfect storm for London Esports Academy. You need to get these early game advantages. You need to press these advantages, not overextend or over push with it and give these advantages away. And so the onus is all on London Esports Academy. But where do you put that advantage getting? Do you go to the bottom lane, make the rotations with the Galio, try and rotate the Camille towards mid lane, or do you try and put this focus towards the top side, try and get your Camille ahead?
Secret option C, none of the above. It's all on Puru.
It's okay.
It's
Hear that, Puru? You have
Puru.
to carry your team. You have to hard carry them. Put them in your backpack. Go, right, guys, I'm ready to climb this.
this is kind of the hard part, that Peru's got 3 losing lanes, but he's playing a strong early game jungler, and because you have 3 losing lanes, you can't expect those lanes to be the ones that are popping off anytime soon.
Yeah.
And so it's all going to be on Peru to try and take over the map as much as possible, which is like not possible, mind you. Like it's if August play it properly, Peru doesn't get to breathe. But the only chance for London Academy, it feels like in this game, is that they have to do something to get Peru to be able to do that, and maybe that's going to require a bit of cheese here, a couple of coin flips there.
Well, we are on to the riff for our third game of the day, London Esports Academy versus Orglis, already at this just the bare start of the game. Us as casters, we feel that it is Orglis's game to win. It's all up to London Esports Academy to play proactively, try and get these early game advantages to try and eke out the win. I like the respect from RushX already running that cleanse.
Absolutely going to be necessary versus the Varus, versus the Leona, and as we said, the Spell Shield not going to be doing a lot of work. In the same vein, though, Galul has come up with a cleanse himself, so a little bit of breathing room for Fidel there, that he won't be astronomically punished by any TP plays from Galul himself, so, a little bit of space for Fidel there, but at the same time, you're playing versus a Jace, it's never really going to be a fun time, and as it looks right now, there's no level 1 shenanigans coming out from either side, and with Maliko starting on his red, the dream of, chickens to chickens isn't there for Peru. But again, it's pretty hard for that to be there when you have a Jace versus Galio mid in the first place.
Yeah, that's very true. The rotation, pretty damn hard to actually execute early on. And the fact that he started off on the red anyway, he can clear red to blue, or it just makes it pretty impossible to try and invade early onto those enemy raptors, which you would say that it's easy to invade onto them?
Not in this game.
That's true. Very true. But Yujian in a little bit of trouble here. Pops the Dark Harvest already. Will get the E to safety, but might... Actually, he doesn't have the flash. I was going to say he might have to flash to safety. Doesn't burn the Ignite. He knows he's going down. First blood to London Esports Academy.
And that's what you need to see from Peru. Get the early ganks coming on through. It's like, yeah, Yujang, no flash. He's only got, his dash on a 10-second cooldown or whatever it is. We'll just come up and grab an early kill, and that's going to get Abmodu a nicely timed reset as well if he wants it. Although it's not even the third wave yet, so he'll be sticking around for just a little bit. And Peru gets back to clearing with Malako almost being punished for picking Karthus. He clears too fast. And as such as already up on the top side, doesn't really have a window to move in onto Peru's bot side there. But now Abmodo does have to be a little bit careful that he doesn't, he's not on the wrong side of the ganks himself, because Malako is moving onto that half of the map.
Yeah, we don't generally see lane gank Karthus, though, unless you're a really very aggressive player. Level 3, you have that Wall of Pain, of course, so you can make those ganks happen. But with the hook shot, it can make it quite difficult to execute those lane ganks, and he is just going to go for a full clear just now. A little bit engaged in the top side.
All right,
fine. He just gets a shot.
If Abmodo is under a tower, it doesn't matter how bad a Karthus gank is. He can just walk in, right? Especially with the exhaust, right? So
yeah, that's true.
There are options for Malako. It's not like he's playing Karthus, so oh my lord.
Yeah, Wall of Pain and the execute from the minions.
That's a bit of a keen one from Abmodo. And that's, actually, it's not that keen. Well, it is keen, but because Yujang is so low, Abmodo at least is allowed to teleport back and catch up that whole wave. But it just means that, Peru getting that early gank off suddenly being a little bit offset. As Yujang now the benefactor of that kill up on the top side, and it looks like there could be some shenanigans being attempted, but relatively soon with both junglers down on this side of the map, but Peru kind of needs to reset. Hasn't spent any of his gold yet in that wave. Pushing in towards the side of London Academy could signal a pretty early Drake being picked up by Malako and co.
Yeah, and it is a Mountain Drake, which means that we'll have either Infernal, Ocean, or Cloud Soul for this third game of the day. And you kind of really, really want that if it is a Cloud Soul. You want to be getting all those Cloud Drakes onto, especially your Karthus. Just get that ult on such a low cooldown at that max rank. And then you just can keep spamming it. And it just helps your laners out so much more than the Karthus already can.
Yeah, there's always sure, a lot of benefits to stacking your dragons fast and early. As it stands, though, bot lane a little bit scared, not trying to walk up, into Jamsu's rel when he's hiding in the bush, and it means they're not actually really able to break this, break this wave set up here. And he saw that Galul was looking for a little bit of something. He roamed on down to the river, couldn't find it, and now Malako's made his way up into the top side. So August, they're not attached to the idea. Not going to waste any time here. Not going to do anything too crazy, too risky. Just don't need to. You don't want to hand over any kills bot lane that are unnecessary. And everyone just sort of goes back to their day. We'll grab that Drake whenever. Maybe we won't, because again, we're spiking hard on one item either way.
And you already have this Fray to Dirt completed for Galul on this Jace as well. So halfway to that one item power spike on the Jace. And looks like Galio wants to make his way towards the bottom side. Of course, has peaked that level 6 point, but he will decide to back away, as it looks like the bottom lane for Orgos are just going to try and get the reset off here. And a little bit of an invade coming in for Poru, just going to try and sneak away something from the bottom side, but I think it was already cleared by Malako. He's engaged on the top side now, yeah. Oh, Requiem.
Oh no.
Yeah, we'll finish him off. Gets the Dark Harvest for good measure as well. Look at this big wave being lost by Antmowodo. Doesn't have the TP. All of these juicy tower plates going to go into the bottom of Yu Zhang and Malako in that top side as well. But they do concede the Drake.
Yeah, but I think you're pretty okay with that one if you're Augless. Happy to give up that Drake because you're denying so much away from one of the scaling threats of the Camille. You're getting your Karthus and your Gwen ahead. A lot of plates picked up, a lot of CS picked up. We're putting resources into Malako, and again, we've seen what this guy can do when he gets his hands on the Karthus, the way that he can take over a game. It gets very spooky very quick. And see that now there's a little bit of a lane swap coming on through, I think. What's going on here? I think Eugene's taking his time to get out of the lane, so I'm not sure. But no, none of that. Just a bit of a roam from Galul. Scout some stuff out, look for some vision. Eugene makes his way back on up to the top lane.
And with the way that the game state is, it's relatively even, just about 500 gold lead for Orglis, and it's on to who you want this gold to be on. It's on Yujian, it's on Malako as well, who has, I think, 2 or 3 stacks of that Dark Harvest so far, which, it's okay for the 7.5 minute mark of the game. The next Drake, of course, being that Ocean Drake, and you're happy to give up a second Drake. It's only really around the 3rd or 4th Drake that you really feel like you have to be contesting these objectives.
Yeah, and I feel that August can pretty confidently say that, London Academy aren't going to Soul Point this game. They're happy to give up first Drake, happy to give up second. Maybe they're even happy to give up the third, because, again, they know once we hit those 2 items, once we've got the one items, the mythics coming through for Galul and Varus, and, once the Mana Moons are on top of that, it's going to be so hard for London Academy to do anything. As Puru has to show his face up on top just to crash this wave.
Here's the hook shot. You have the Hollow Mist as well, and you just get the solo kill underneath the tower. Make it 2, baby! The outplay, the flash away from Fidel now, as it was a scuffed tower dive and a half there. Doesn't have the Requiem, but he has the exhaust. He wants to try and take out Fidel. Gets the second, the Dark Harvest too. The Skittles not quite hitting, but the outplay in the top side for Yu Zhang.
I was going to say you have to think that the dive's a bad idea, but then once Fidel comes in, it looks a little bit better, but diving a Gwen rarely goes well, and whilst this is going on, Galul just has free reign of mid, so 2 kills picked up by Eugene. Malako gets a wave, Galul gets a wave and 2 plates of advantage here in the mid lane, and everything continues to work out in Augus's favor.
It's all Orglis this game. 2 kills up, about 1,000 gold lead now, edging towards that 10-minute mark. You have that Leeching Leer with the Blasting Wand now for Yu Zhang. So sitting pretty in that top side of 0-3 Camille, not what you want to be seeing if you're a London Esports Academy fan. Yes, you have the Phage and you have that Sheen as well, but not really going to pump out that much damage. Gets the flash out of Galul now in the middle lane, but here comes the collapse. In comes Peru from the side, but cannot save his top laner. Jamsu going to go down as well as the Solar Flare does manage to connect onto Peru, but they can't have the chase down. He'll manage to get away, but lose too.
Yeah, still 2 kills being picked up, and they have the Herald as well. Going to be able to drop that one, get a lot of extra plate gold coming through, also breaking down that first tower. Malako tagged up, not going to be put to sleep just yet. And the first tower is secured. It's now Fidel a little bit far up, but should be able to walk his way out of that one with relative ease. And now the map is nice and open for August, and it's really going to allow Galul to start to make some moves.
From 1,000 gold lead at the 9-minute mark to 10 minutes in and a 3,000 gold lead, it is looking good for Orglis. They were on a 2-game loss streak, and now it looks like they're gonna break that streak. They are 6-2 up. Maybe a little bit too early to be saying that, but when you have an early game champion roster like this Varus, like this Jason, you still have some scaling on your side. It does look pretty damn good for the Orglis team.
Yeah, Orglis, what many scholars of the time would later go on to describe as hyper chilling right now. They're in a pretty good spot. They're, as you said, up, a couple thousand gold, and even if the gold was even, they'd still be in a reasonable spot. As that Eclipse being finished, the Mythics really just being picked up across the board, except for I Am King, as there hasn't been a lot of bot lane attention, but there is some at the chickens.
It's that meme all over again. You get the chickens, but we get the kills. In comes the Galio now. King snipes Puro in the back line. The Galio will give off his life. They will lose only one on the side of Orglis. I call that worth every day of the week as Galul picks up the double.
Yeah, a bit of a shutdown coming through onto Malako. Slows down his pace a little bit, but now we're putting gold through onto I Am King as well. I think he got the double buffs off of that as well, which is really going to help out in the lane. And Yujang looking for the sort of predict on that ult there. Not quite able to find it, but still forcing Admirwodo out of lane. And there it is, I Am King with the double buffs. So he's having a real nice time. Is Admirwodo, is he going to live? Yes, he does. Gets back to the fountain in time. But a Dark Harvest stack secured for Malako. You have to cool up on that one as the teleport deployed, saving up the top tower. But, Galul is in the area.
Yep, Yuzhang aggressed on by Admirwodo. In comes the cavalry. And he gets blown up. He is utterly dismantled there. In comes in comes Fidel now looking for the Justice Punch, but Galul, he just doesn't really care. He's getting the damage down, already down to half health. The Galio has to back away as the Wall of Pain goes down. The snipe will be stopped by the shield from Rush X, and in the end, they get the pressure on the map, and they will get the Drake.
Ambi just got absolutely blasted. Puru disappeared in a matter of milliseconds in that fight. That was painful. That looked rough as the Drake also picked up. And like you said, August not worried about, second or third Drake, but they'll take it anyway. Might as well, because they're getting they're just picking up dubs really across the map right now. Breaking up that top tower as well. Not quite, but sure to do that one relatively soon, as Iron King actually missing out on the Chains of Corruption there on the bot side. But still looking to be in a pretty dominant spot nonetheless.
Looked like he was looking for the prediction there, maybe the backstep from the Rel, but Jamsu will get away from that. And this is what we said at the start of the game. London Esports Academy have to play proactively. They have to gain these early game advantages. Well, we are at the 13.5-minute mark. They're 4,500 gold behind. You're on your 1-item power spike for the Jace, building towards that 1-item power spike for your Varus as well. Leona not quite hitting the mark in the middle lane there, but have to feel that the pressure gained from that solar flare will allow them to make tracks across the map. It looks like they're making their way towards the top side.
Yeah, they force Fidel off the wave, clear out the wave themselves, and now we get a nice little short stop here, putting King up into the mid lane, and that means we get Galul up into the top lane. Admirwodo might not be aware of what is coming for him, as Fidel has to stand, so far back in mid without the flash. Absolutely terrified and not going to be able to make any ult plays anytime soon, as Yujang just Looks for the
Force
1v3.
flash on rush X. Yu Zhang down to half health. Make that a third. Just ticking down. In comes the lilting lullaby. We'll trade 1 for 1 in the end.
And unfortunately, one tower hit more, and maybe Malako's able to pick something up there with the Requiem, but instead it's just a 1 for 1. Very much in favor of London Academy, getting themselves some plates, some waves, some assist gold also. But whilst this is going on, 3 members are committed down to that half of the map, so King and Nibble continue to put out the hurt onto this tier 2 tower, and Malako lurking nearby could try to turn this one into a gank at really any opportunity, but the plates fall off, and the top lane tower does still stand for London Academy, so a little bit of gold has been, a little bit of that hemorrhaging has been stopped, but again, really not where you want to be as London Academy right now.
Yeah, they got the bandages to stem the bleeding, but have to feel one false move, one little bit of a twist, and you will rupture those sutures and will start bleeding all over the map once again. Camille can't even stay in this lane versus Yu Zhang at this point with that 1 item power spike hit by the Gwen. And even though you're sitting at 6 and 4, the side lane presence that you get from this pick from Yu Zhang, the player himself, is just immense. You have to, as we've seen previously, send 2, 3, maybe even 4 members, depending on where the wave state is, to try and deal with this Gwen in the side lane. And when that is happening, Orgalists are gaining advantages across the map.
Yeah, Yu Zhang, a little bit known for his tendency to, take that 1v3. But at the same time, Orgalists, known for their tendency to capitalize on the fact that 3 people are going on to Yu Zhang, right? I mean, it's a controversial technique that might not work out for Yu Zhang on many other teams, but here on August, everyone's on the same page. They're understanding how this top lane is going to go, and they know how they can punish it on other sides of the map. As right now, it's actually Galul that's the one looking to get 1v3'd, or maybe even 1 versus Ford. We'll see what the rest of the team can do.
Gets the TP now as Jamstu's taking the tower damage. In comes the ultimate from Fidel. It is enough to secure the kill, but Yu Zhang, he's in the bottom lane as the Hextech ultimatum gets issued. Atmawodo will fall to the Skittles in the face, and they trade 1 for 2 across the map. It is in favor of Orgalists once again.
So even with 4 members going on, trying to dive out Galul, Yu Zhang and Malako can help to turn that one around. They get one of the kills. They're deploying the Herald on mid, where they found themselves another kill. Take down a tower, get the charge off onto the second tower, clear out the enemy jungle, and probably pick up that top lane outer as well. And yet again, August doing a great job of just punishing London Academy across the map when they overcommit.
It just feels like as if you're on such a back foot here for London Esports Academy. You just now get your Divine Sunderer for Atmawodo. You have your Kraken Slayer, so you're doing okay for Rush X, but you have to feel it's going to be another 15 minutes until the Sivir starts to be your win condition. Can you stall out for that long? It looks like they're going to fight over this next Drake. It is going to be an Infernal Drake, which means it is an Infernal Rift for this game. Both these teams do like to have this Drake in their back pocket, the Soul in that back pocket. It's already down to half health. Where is the engage coming from Orgalists? A good snipe for the extra damage. The Solar Flare tags the slow onto 2, but they give up their jungler. Puru is just left in no man's land, looking to chase them down now. In the bottom lane, as throws out the pizza there. The disc is going to do a little bit of damage. In goes Galul. Actually, Galul waiting off to the side. He has an Empower Shock Blast, but Yu Zhang, he is the engage that they needed, they wanted, but couldn't find. And Leona is taking the tower shots there as they find the pressure, but they give up the Drake.
And even with London securing the Drake, you see in action there what we're saying about this. Massive 1 item, soon to be 2 item spike for the Jace, for the Varus. Just 1 shot blast arrow connecting onto the backline, and that is Academy off the map entirely. So they get themselves a Drake, but again, August know that this one's not really going to soul point if they have anything to say about it. And they'll secure themselves another tower, a little bit more on the gold lead, and realistically, the only reason that they haven't started to threaten Baron yet is just because it hasn't spawned. We give that one another, another minute, 2 minutes. Once those tiers are fully stacked up for Galul and I Am King, and that starts to become a real worry for London Academy.
Yeah, it really, really does. It starts to become that point of pressure on the map where you could just leave your Gwen in the bottom lane, leave her to be that side laner that Admowodo can't even match at this stage of the game. Once she has that TP up, then, you know, you have to send multiple members to be that response to that Gwen. Split Push has that Gnash's Tooth now completed, so we'll be pumping out even more obnoxiously high levels of damage. And then the rest of the team can focus that objective of the Baron Nashor.
And even if you do send multiple members down to deal with Yujang, we've seen it
One
before.
for one.
Yeah, it's not that effective, right? It works and it doesn't. As Yujang, he just takes the 1 versus 1.
Yeah, but in comes Fidel with that heroic entrance as well. Might be able to trade 1 for 1. I tell a lie. The shutdown goes over to Fidel, and they don't seem to get anything on the other side. For Orglis, looks like they're going to try and pressure this top and mid.
They've got their eyes on Puru, who has to back off away from the turret. This time around, though, yeah, Yujang not able to turn it into a 1-for-1. As the Ignite from Admowodo doing far too much work, and there's enough chain CC to keep Yujang in his place. Not able to heal up, not able to put out the DPS. And for once, Orglis, yeah, not able to capitalize on the opposite side of the map. So this time round, it is just a little bit of a whoopsie for Yujang. A little bit too far up about the team being able to capitalize. But with Admowodo staying down on the bot side, looks like Orglis are happy to just start up the Baron. It's going down pretty fast.
Here comes the TP challenge now. From the other side of the rift, and Gwen still in the middle lane. In comes the flash. Fidel looking for the engage. He finds it onto 2, make that 3 as the ZF Blade comes through. So does the Solar Flare, gets the flash out to Leona, and they find the team fight win. Will the Requiem get them anything on the backside? That is a no. Leona ends up dropping. That's a 4-for-0 in favor of London Esports Academy.
Ooh, that's a rough one for Orglis. It's a little bit keen to do the Baron without Yujang, and then everyone's so focused on taking down the Baron, make sure that it falls, that they end up getting cleaned out in the pit. Think, you know, Malako didn't have any mana. I Am King and Galul both done with their flashes up, just getting, you know, absolutely chained on before they can get out of the pit. And yes, the Baron is secured, and it goes on to the side laner, so at the end of the day, it's almost, you know, a net neutral for Orglis. There's a lot of gold and XP tied into that Baron, and London Academy don't really deny anything from them. But it costs a lot of tempo, and it, you know, it's going to lose them that Baron opportunity in future. London Academy, they can be pretty happy with how this one's panned out, even though they don't get it feels like a real advantage from it. Although, actually, having said that, they got themselves a couple of shutdowns, so they probably do get a gold benefit out of it. But as you can see, it's still marginal. They're still at a 6k deficit.
Yeah, they narrowed the gold gap just a little bit, maybe a couple of thousand gold here and there thanks to the shutdowns. But because of the amount of gold that you actually get from killing the Baron, it's going to be quite marginal, the gold difference. The gold difference changed there thanks to the Baron take. As you said, about a 6,000 gold lead still there for Orglis. In comes the Justice Punch. You have to go up to Leona. Have to get her away as the ZF Blade going to try and get her to safety. In comes the backup of the rest of the team. The Hextech ultimatum gets issued and they find the kill. Now Jamsu, he's on the wrong side of the rift, looking for the engage with the ultimate now from Yu Zhang. He's looking for the fall thanks to the E. He will manage to find it thanks to the damage from the Varus. Goes golden just by a little bit of time, but Laka, he's gonna go down. Yu Zhang on the wrong side once again, but he's still a Gwen. He finds a kill.
And once again, Yujang a little bit too far up without the rest of the team's support, although this time it's Nibble that pays the price for being there alongside him. However, Orglis able to come down, collapse, grab themselves a Drake on top, but this does mean this is time that they're not using that Baron. You know, they're having to dilly-dally around with these fights and then go and get the Drake, and it is slowing down their, you know, potential to completely try to take over side lanes. But what they really need is just let's get a bit of a reset, both in-game and mentally. It's just calm it down and say, okay, wait a second, everyone just go buy your items, and then Yujang go out on the map at the same time as us, and then maybe we can, you know, get a push going on mid, go for this exposed inhibitor, try to take over that top quadrant, and actually be in position to do something when Yujang is far up.
Now, Harry, it is the battle of the last streaks here, because Orglis are on a 2-game last streak, and London Esports Academy are on a 3-game last streak. So who, off of that, is going to win? So far, it looks like it's going to be Orglis, because they have a 6,000 gold lead. But you still have that 500 CS Sivir win condition sitting on 2 and a bit items. And you have that side lane presence of Admowodo on that Camille. is it winnable for London Esports Academy, or is it just they hit that
No.
power spike and Orgless win?
Yeah, I think it's as long as Orgless, get on the same page as Yujang, I'm thinking it's pretty over at this stage, right? We've got 3 items now being secured for Galul. Muraman are nice and stacked up for I Am King. Malako lost out on his Darksteel stacks, which is pretty sad. Or his Medjay stacks, because that's just, 1.5k. Yeah, I mean, now he's just 1.5k in the hole for no real reason. But here we see Galul casually 1v1 a Camille.
Yep. As simple as that. We don't even
can't
look at
look.
it.
We can't look. Get it off. See, that's a Camille. That's the 1v1 champion. Galul's just going to walk on up and absolutely bopper. But Galul doesn't have the teleport, so we have to be a little bit mindful of that one, that he's not going to be joining in on any shenanigans down here on the bot side of the map. So instead, he's just going to keep on pushing up top, make his way in towards that tower, get a bit of a 1-3-1 going, because as we've just seen, there's not really anyone that can step up to stop Galul quite just yet. And now, if anyone goes 5-man bot onto Yujang, there's guaranteed to be an answer.
You're guaranteed to take this tower. You might even take it just cause. Yeah, you do. No one goes to respond.
Alright, one secured. Now Yujang making his way onto the second tower. Fidel able to clear out the wave by a little bit of time, and Yujang not doing the most damage to towers there on that Gwen. So it's going to take a couple of waves before it falls, but that's still, beneficial to Orgless, who are just keeping control over London Academy's side of the map. Napping away their camps. You can see they've got a nice bit of vision as well, and just waiting out for that Baron to spawn up in about a minute. So everyone takes their resets now. We'll go get our items, go get some wards, get back out onto the map, and give this Baron a second try.
It's always the second Baron that is the most impactful of the Barons, unless you go for a third or fourth. But most games will end before you get to that third or fourth Baron point, unless you're living in LPL or LCK, in which case, yeah, okay, it can go to a third or the fourth Baron, because they like to play the games low and slow, but we got to eke out some vision here in this top side quadrant, and also the western side quadrant there, just to prepare for this Baron spawning in 20 seconds time. I have to feel that London Esports Academy will have a very hard time to try and actually respond to this Baron take. You just have to kind of wait, hope, and pray that you can actually smite it away. Maybe get some of your own vision around this objective.
Because now the issue for London Academy that they'll be running into, that they did not run into last fight, is that Malako is full mana and has the Zhonya's. And I think he might have had the Zhonya's before, but he definitely didn't have the mana and wasn't able to get that Defile ticking and going. And Yujang wasn't there either. So now if London Academy want to throw themselves into that pit, go for their big 5-man wombo, it's going to look pretty different.
Yujang has started the Baron. In comes Malako now. It's down to 10,000 health, and it feels like as if London Esports Academy, either they don't know, or they know that they can't respond.
They know. They dropped down that blue trinket, but they're putting up too much pressure in the mid lane for Orgless to be able to stay on that Baron without risking just getting casually 5v2'd. But then, yeah, all it takes is one bit of poke to completely even out that trade. And Drake's up in 30 seconds, so it looks like Orgless is just going to try that Baron again.
And if you get it early enough, you don't even have to trade objectives. You can start the Baron. You know that London Esports Academy have to respond to this. RushX, he's lost a little bit of his HP thanks to the Power Shock Blast from Galul earlier on. Yujang, he's sitting in the bush with no vision in it, so you can't exactly go face checking into that brush, that pixel brush there. Yujang down to half health, but he dashes forward, gets the empowered auto attacks there thanks to that E. Now London Esports Academy going to push onto this third Drake.
And now I think that Orgless are happy to take that trade, which is a bit of a risky one. It is the third Drake now for London Academy. They're getting themselves onto that soul point, but Orgless make their way on over to the Baron yet again. But last time, didn't seem like they had a plan. Do they want to fight or do they want to stick on it? We'll see what happens now as they peel off away from the Baron, but not into a fight.
A beautiful 4-man Magnus Storm there. A brilliant engage from Jamsu, but can they take the team fight? The answer seems to be a no, thanks to the Requiem coming in now. Gonna force Fidel backwards. That's a 3 for 3 so far in the fight, but you have the low up and available. The damage from this man is just utterly disgusting. They will manage to take the team fight win, but they lose 3.
Yeah, London Academy find a good engage. They take out I Am King pretty rapidly. They isolate Malako, but at the same time, Galul is massive, and so is Yujang. And now they look to actually just do the Baron, even without Malako. And they do it relatively slowly, so I think that everyone should actually spawn up in time to get the buff onto themselves as well, which is always nice, as there's not going to be really any risk of a steal quite just yet. So August secure themselves that, but can't at least wait for Malako. Like, sad. Malako not getting the Baron onto himself. By about 1 second. That's a bit cringe.
They could have waited.
They could have waited for that one, but everyone else gets the Baron, and they'll be looking to reset and try to close out this game relatively soon.
And just with this insane power that Galul has on this chase with the 3.5 and make that 4 items, actually has that Sheralda's Grudge now finished off. It's going to be very, very difficult to try and stop this man from just mincing through everyone in a team fight. We saw it just there. We've seen it all games 7, 2, and 6, 300 CS. He is farming up so well in this game. Only the second most CS, actually, compared to Sivir with Rush X. But you still have 3 items on your other respective carries, on your Gwen and on your Varus, and when you have 3 items only on one member of your team for London Esports Academy, it'll be pretty hard to execute these team fights.
Oh my. Yeah, that's
what happens. You even get the Dark Harvest.
I mean, if he wants to drop the Requiem, that's a very dead Sivir, but it's like, it's not quite up. Not quite up. Malako got a couple of seconds on that. But yeah, it's literally a Shock Blast and a Skittle. All it takes to almost 100 to 0 Rush X at this point. So that can be a little bit spooky for London Academy, as I Am King and Galul clear out the mid wave, wait for the next one to come on in. Inhib already secured, going to be those supers pushing on through. And it actually looks like, okay, we peel off, we will come down to the bot side. We're not going to try and set anything up with that Baron on mid. We'll just look for a second inhibitor instead.
I'd call that worth. They have to respond to the super minion push in the next 30 seconds or so in that middle lane, and when you have that Baron powered wave, it's going to be pretty hard to try and respond to this. Oh, the Requiem gets interrupted there as Malako, he has to go golden just to survive in this team fight. I Am King finds the first kill of the fight, and now it's just a split team fight as the rest of London Academy have to back off. The triple kill for the Varus now as they win the team fight convincingly 3-1.
And that's looking like it's gonna be all she wrote for this game. Malako going down, but actually, we're just backing off a little bit. Not trying to close this out. I think they could just look for a pretty confident game end there, it has to be said. You got the Baron going up. Yeah, Sivir's got some wave clear, but you got some poke yourself as well. We're not quite ending it just yet. Everybody backing off, reset goes Benjamula. And we'll get him next time. Next push will be the final one.
It's alright, we just need a little bit more League of Legends action here. Galul shoving in that top lane wave will make it bounce back. It will just crash into the tower actually there, and it's just under a minute until the next strike. It is, of course, Infernal Soul Point for London Esports Academy. Trying to deny that away. We've been saying all game it probably won't get to that point, but it looks like we were wrong. 45 seconds until that objective spawns. So far, they have that early in for the side of Orglis onto that objective. They can get their own vision. There's actually no vision for London Esports Academy around the objective, so it looks like it will just go over to Orglis.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, London Academy could get this Drake as well. Like, if they got it, Orglis wouldn't really mind too much, because Orglis could just wipe them at the bit. Infernal Soul's not going to do all too much for you in that situation, so... London not quite trying to lose the game right this second. We'll go ahead and hand that one over, not make any crazed throws. And London secure, or Orglis secure that one away for themselves again. The Soul Point, not an option for London right now. But the Baron is worn out. We've still got the inhib down on mid. Looks like 5 people are just sprinting it down towards that bot inhib, looking to crack that one open as well, and again move closer to eventually ending out this game.
And Admo and Fidel are just pushing top lane, getting at the reset now from Admo and now Fidel as he channels that back. But they're going to give up their bot lane inhib for this, and they still have supers conga lining towards that middle lane. Another 2 waves actually pushing towards their mid lane slowly, but surely in comes the Hextech ultimatum as well. Pin goes down, and Mordo down to a third of his life already. He's into the backline, but he will surely fall. Trade 1-for-1 so far in the fight. Fidel will also go down. The Requiem gonna do so much damage. It's a full ace, 4-3, as Orglis will finish off this game.
London Academy feeling like they have to do something. It's close. You know, it's a relatively good fight, but Admiral Odo blowing out his Q2 and the Divine Thunder on a minion means that I Am King gets out of that one pretty alive, is able to put out huge amounts of DPS, and then again, you're diving into a Karthus. Doesn't matter if you kill him or not. He's still mincing through your team, and with a 10,000 gold lead, eventually, Orglis are able to end their win streak and secure the dub here in Game 3.
And it moves London Esports Academy to, I think, a 3-7. So that is smack bang at the bottom of our table. With Lucendi, I think, being on 4-6 after their win today. So no longer at the bottom of the table.
Big moves for Lucendi. Lucendi had a bit of a glow up recently. You know, was it
3 wins in a row, if I'm not mistaken?
Was it? Yeah, as nobody beats Lucendi 7 times in a row, gets away with it. And that's a phrase I know all too well because that's what I said in summer 2020.
Yeah.
Or it's like, aha! Nobody beats Lucendi 6 times in a row. But they got away with it. They what was it? Lucendi did all right. They got a win over Orglis, right? They picked that one up earlier in the week.
They won against X7 earlier today.
X7. Oh god, it's been a weird week to be look at Twitter without seeing the game. You're like, oh, wait, Lucendi are like beating top teams now. Okay, good to know.
X7 being a top team at 5-5 or whatever they are.
They're no longer a top team.
No, God,
oh my lord.
Well, they're not performing like a top team at the moment. I know, all the X7 guys probably flame me on Twitter or something about that, but you know, step up.
I've missed a couple of games. But well played by Orglis. Unfortunate for London Academy, it was a little bit doomed out of the gates, it has to be said, but they gave it a good go. That game should not really have gone on that long. And they found themselves a couple of good moments, like that back fight at the Baron, for example. But that is going to be it from us for now. We'll be hopping over to a short break before we return with our final game of the day in about 5 minutes or so.
Welcome back to the UKEL. We are into Champion Select for our fourth game of the day is London United versus Demise. Both these teams sitting at 5 and 4. Both of them want to try and separate from the rest of the pack. They're sitting tied for second at this point with I think two other teams, or they were at the start of the day. So they really need to be picking up these wins.
Yeah, again, starting to have every map matter just a little bit more as we move on into, essentially we're getting into the fourth quarter now here at the UKEL, and that's when it's really going to start to matter when you get yourself out of these tied positions. Try to lock yourself in for those playoffs as early as possible and lock yourself into those high up spots. But so far, nothing particularly spicy coming out, except for, you got to put a bit of respect and ban away that Ziggs.
Yeah, you really, really do. I think respect bans for the Kali and the Zinjao as well, because they're particularly potent, but I think you have to be banning them away from Dunlosi and from Kusei and Icy Gale, respectively, for that Kali. Just waiting for the last couple of bans to come through, expecting something maybe of the Gwen or the Viego. We've seen a lot of priority on both those picks. There's Viego.
Yep. We got Gwen, Viego, Ezreal, Karma, Varus, Lulu, a lot of strong picks still up and about. You don't often see the Lulu, like B1 first picks, but it's still something that people tend to like to bat out early on. And that's the Gwen taken away. So which one's going to be? Ezreal, Karma, Varus, where are we at? No, it's Nocturne! Because here we are on, was it 11-13, 11-14? Whichever patch we're on currently, which is the one where Nocturne jungle gets a big buff because of the Strike Breaker changes.
Yeah. And it also has that flexibility to your team comp, so you're not really giving away where he's going. He can go top, he can go mid, he can go jungle, so you're not really knowing where he's going to be going. But as you said, buff on this patch to jungle, so probably there.
Yeah, he got a little bit nerfed out of the lanes. His sustain got hit, which is sort of one of the most important parts about him. Stop him just getting bullied out by any ranged champions in mid or bot, or mid or top. I mean, top lane if you're versus a melee can still go fine, but it's probably jungle nowadays. But what's our take on the new items here in the UKE? Are they disabled? Am I right in thinking that?
Sure, I know there were.
Time Kenshin, the items are disabled, I think, for this week.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably next week, but they're allowed. I haven't seen anyone build it, so.
Anyone do them yet, right? Yeah, I'd assume we would have seen it at some point if it were allowed. However, Nocturne being a power pick that I keep forgetting about, that one gets B1, but then we've also just still got the Varus open, and honestly still got the Karma as well. So if you go for Nocturne, Varus, Karma, you've got yourself an insane comp, right off the bat for London United. But at the same time, maybe they just want something, nice and safe in the mid lane to synergize nicely with that Karma. But no, there it is, there's the Karma. Don't need it.
Very strong
team. That's a pretty hard to beat comp.
Yeah, it's aggressive. It's really hard to deal with. So I'm interested to see how they respond on the side of Demise. Do you pick through the Rakan here? Do you show your mid laner what you're going to be doing? It looks like they're hovering the Silas right now. But they're going to default back. Talk about hovers. It's not what you want to be doing, but there's the Rakan paired up with his sweetheart of the Zaya.
I don't know how good I'm feeling about this lane for Demise. Zaya Rakan, nice enough for the all-in for sure, but you don't really have any way to handle the wave control and the poke that's going to come out from that Varus Karma. Like, yeah, if you get the knock-up on Rakan, if you can go in, you get the all-in, you get a good fight, but Varus Karma are never really going to let that happen. They're only playing at max range, just keeping you as far away from them as possible, as low health as possible, and keep your wave as pushed into tower as possible. So this is looking pretty spooky for Demise. I mean, I like the Blitzcrank comp, but that is one way to get around enchanters like Karma. You just hook them in before they can do anything. That's not a luxury that you will be having down with this Zaya Rakan lane, as they now have to blind pick, one of their solo lanes as well. And then we'll see what they look for the counter on R5.
The last few bans coming through now. Targeting the mid laners here from the side of Demise with that LeBlanc and the Silas, although we've seen Silas go top lane. Been a long time since we've seen Silas jungle since they nerfed that into the ground. Ban away the solo laners here now from London United. Ban away the Malphite. Makes me feel kind of like maybe it's Nocturne top, but maybe it's just because they're strong tanks banning away the Ornn too.
They're keeping the option open for sure, but Nocturne versus Volibear in the jungle, it's pretty fine. That Volibear could be jungle, could be top, could go into a lot of places. I think that the mages being banned out here in mid lane for Demise is just because if it is a Nocturne jungle, especially if it's like poke Varus mid, you really want to you really want to remove mages from the mid lane as much as possible, because that can get pretty spooky. You've already got a lot of AD damage if you're on London United. You need to add some magic into the mix, and we'll see which one it's going to be. I don't hate something just like the Twisted Fate here, to be honest, or like a Galio. It doesn't have to be a lot, but just something to synergize nicely with the Nocturne. But at the same time, mage items getting buffed on this patch, with the Lost Chapter Mythics going down in cost, you really can just pick anything, especially into that Orianna. And so there it is, even more poke to go alongside the Varus and the Karma.
Yeah, it's chocolate mooncake time with the Zoe locked in for Kusei in the middle lane. All poke all day for London United. The Varus, the Karma, the Zoe just poking all of the time. But if we can get an advantage over the Zoe, the portal jump will just be so predictable.
Oh.
Okay. Rengar.
That's not a proxy. That's
Well, we haven't been
whole
told
thing.
it's a proxy.
Is it? Oh, Sinji Ops Director is typing. ... Ooh, Sinji. Ooh, which one's it gonna be? Ooh.
It's going to be. Let's try and predict it. Try and predict it. What's it going to be?
Bulls champ. I mean, Rengar's not your everyday. Nope. Yeah, it's nothing.
It's nothing to do with the game. Well,
completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
All right.
So is
the
Rengar
Rengar's it's a bit of a weird one. It's a bit of a quirker because this is a very much a poke comp. The Nocturne's kind of stuck here because it doesn't really, you don't really want to be going all in as Nocturne when the team's trying to poke. But at the same time, your team pokes people low enough, Nocturne, you just pick up a free kill. It's kind of fine. And B1 Nocturne, never really a bad idea, even though it doesn't, fit too well with the comp. The weird part is the Rengar, and that's just a bit of an Icy Gale special. But that one's a little bit of what the kids would describe as off-theme from the rest of the comp. When you look at a Zoe, a Varus, a Karma, you're not thinking assassins go brr. But at the same time, if Icy Gale can take over his lane entirely, you've then got yourself 2 winning side lanes. You can put all the attention you need to into the mid lane to get that one winning as well, and suddenly Dunlossie can really take over the map.
And just to talk about what's been put in our broadcast chat on our Discord is Nymera has said that ICL has played Rengar top 2 or 3 times in the UKEL so far, and Rail has said that it's pretty much been perma-banned against him. So although there is a bit of a disconnect compositional-wise surrounding this London United team comp, it's not something that we should be that surprised by. It's kind of surprising that they decided to opt into Rengar top kind of blind, and then Dr. Mundo gets locked in versus him. It's the new Mundo, by the way, so it's a slight rework there.
And with the new Mundo here, we're looking at the comp for Demise, and it's pretty spooky in some regards. You can just it's a run at you comp is what it is, right? We're running at you. That's where this is going. Mundo goes where he pleases. Volibear jumps on in. You get a ball on someone. Rakan follows up. It's a really nice wombo. It's a really nice team fight comp. The issue they're going to have is actually, getting to the targets, right? There isn't really a frontline for London United, but with the Karma Varus, they're more than capable of just literally walking backwards and running away alongside the Zoe. And if you tank too much poke trying to get in, that's for Icy Gale and Dunlossie to dive on in. But with the Mundo and the Volibear, alongside some Orianna shielding to boot, you have got ways to absorb that poke in the team fights. So what I think it really comes down to is just the early game, and if London United can use this super powerful bot lane they've got and use the comfort of Icy Gale up on his signature pick in the top lane to get early leads, to make those mid-game fights that much easier, because in an even game, those mid-game fights can be really either way, but we've got a winning bot lane, and I'm pretty sure a winning top lane for London United, so want to lever that advantage early on where possible.
Yeah, because Mundo, like with most tanks, not very tanky early on. It's kind of actually difficult to play out the laning phase, especially if Rengar, if Icy Gale can play around his bush jump quite well, just get that damage down onto Mundo, maybe play around the wave quite well as well. Then Mundo might be forced to tank a little bit of that minion damage and be almost unplayable.
Rengar versus melees in top lane is always a good time.
That's true.
It's very, very difficult for anyone to really just trade back onto you or make anything happen. If you get one freeze going, I think I think last time I cast London United, actually, Icegal got his Rengar. I seem to remember there was some shenanigans up there, because if you're playing Rengar, you get one freeze in top lane, you're done. Like, the game's over. Endorser is unable to play the game from that point, because, what can you do? Every time he looks at a creep, you suddenly just get a Rengar jumping on you, takes out half your health, and then dips back into the bush before you can even trade back.
Yeah, I mean, all you can do is get the slow from your cleaver, and then it's like, okay, he's just in the bush. What can I really do? Step up? No, I can't really do that. Even with your passive blocking CC for that amount of time, then you have like a cooldown of 90 seconds before you can use that passive again. The CC from your Ebola, I guess.
No shot is he using the bowler. He's going for pure DPS, just hit him with a double savagery, call it a day, and dip out with the move speed. You don't even need the bowler. Although, to be honest, because the CC is like so unimportant for the Rengar, it almost works out, in Icy Gale's favor, because whenever you block for CC as Mundo, you take a chunk of damage, and much like Poppy's Buckler, you have to go pick up the passive thing off the floor. And because you're not like tied to your CC as Rengar, if for whatever reason you're not looking to use like a empowered savagery, you can just throw out the bowler and it just does a chunk more damage if you can then get control of the passive as well. And you're not like, oh no, my root is gone. You're Rengar, you don't care. Like, so there's worlds where that goes sort of somewhat in the Rengar's favor, which just makes it even harder for Endorser. But ultimately, if you're London Academy, do something with this Varus Karma, get that Pro going, get some strong shenanigans up on top, and you can use that to snowball down Lossy, who's one of the best junglers in the league, and he's playing that Nocturne, very strong champion, has a massive spike on 6, massive spike on Stridebreaker. Get him to those points, and he suddenly starts taking over the map. One bubble hits at the one item point from that mid lane is what? You're getting Nocturne ulted, you're getting Varus queued, you're getting Karma queued, you're getting Rengar ulted. Like, it gets to be a very scary game if you are the Xayah, the Rakan, the Orianna. I mean, even if you're one of those tanks for Demise, a bubble can still spell death, and you might have to, be forced to ult to get out of it or whatever it is. So, it's a bit spooky for Demise, but again, if the teams are relatively even going into the mid game, maybe Demise can just sort of force on through it. So the game's really going to come down to who can get the early lead because of that.
Yeah, your saving grace is that ult from the Xayah, but it's such a long cooldown that if you do get hit with a bubble, or if you get hit, you just have the Nocturne ult going on to you. Because Dunlosy, he loves to play super aggressively. That's the type of jungler he is. He plays hyper aggressive. He makes these plays. If he's a little bit behind, he's like, right, we need to be making these plays. We need to play proactively, which is, I think, one of the mistakes that a lot of our teams make, where they're just like, okay, we can just sit back, wait to scale. We just let them dictate the pace of the game. Whereas a lot of these teams lose because of that.
Even with Dunlosy, sending it in on the Nocturne, this is fundamentally a poke comp for London United. We've got 2 divers, but we've got 3 of them are poke champions. So it's majority vote is a poke comp. And so if you're Terabyte, you're not ulting every single Varus queue, every Karma queue. Same for Crisis, really, and Vossen as well. You can't cleanse everything. So it's a bit of a worry for Demise in that regard if the poke hits onto the right places. But right now, it's London United looking for a bit of a shenanigan early on to get Icy Gale ahead, but it will be spotted out by a ward deployed up in that top lane by Endorser.
It's like Vossen's going to make his way up here as well. No, I tell a lie. He's just going to go back, get the reset from Crisis as well, start off. Every time I say something, they just do the opposite to what I'm saying. No, he's going to start off on this top side. Leash for London United in that bottom side as well. So just pretty standard starts from both these sides.
Alrighty. Nothing too spicy going on. Dunlosy starting on the bot side of the map, indicating he wants to, play up towards Icy Gale early on. And Crisis starting on top could be a bit of a risk for London United if they want to, take control of the wave as the Varus Karma. They'll be doing it, alone. They're not going to have support of Dunlosy, and they will be open to Crisis. However, as is often the case with these Karma lanes, Karma Varus, Karma Ezreal, you do basically just have complete control over the choice of what you want to do with that lane. You can see they're not really shoving out anything too hard quite just yet, and that's a really nicely placed Q from Niza to not push the wave, but still get the good poke.
Yeah, in comes the engage from Techie.
Ooh.
Now he takes a huge chunk of his HP just for going in there. And that's what we said in Champion Select. It's a very hard lane for the Xayah Rakan to be playing out, because once you go in, you got to be poked out. You're going to try and get your battle down to safety, but he's level 1, so he doesn't have that. And because they were sitting in that tri-brush looking for the level 1 shenanigans, the kind of the cheese weight strat in that tri-brush, Terabyte missed out on 2 CS because of it. And because they positioned through the lane, they got poked out by the Manchester Power Q.
And not only that, but lots of shenanigans from Blank as well. But mid lane,
That's a flash out of Kusei, but it's a flash for flash so far, and Crisis might pay attention to this mid lane a little bit more. Comes back to flash
Ooh.
for Boston, looking for the solo bolo. One more auto attack finishes him off with the clockwork wind up.
and that's what Demise need. They need the early advantage here in this game. Stop Dunlossie, stop Icy Gale from snowballing, and attack the weak lane here. Take out Kusei, because that is not a gank he was expecting. Knowing that Crisis started on the top side, he's thinking that Crisis is just power farming down for that bot crab. And so when the Volibear comes flashing out of that top side river, you are not expecting that one. Well, that means the advantage goes on over to Vossen in the mid lane. However, Kusei teleports back, denies a couple of CS because of that one, shoving the wave on in. But it's still, gold advantage over to Demise right now, and a well-placed recall from Blank and Nizer. Essentially getting that cheater recall off in bot lane does buy them a fair amount as... Oh!
Almost got the solo kill there, but had to back out because of the minion wave damage. Had Kusei off to the side coming up to try and finish him off. Does not manage to land the bubble. Gets the flash out of Endorser in the end, just trading for an ignite.
Kusei unfortunately not able to pick up the kill there. We'll lose a little bit out because of that roam, but Icy Gale just asserting his dominance really over the lane and forcing out the TP from Endorser as well, whilst Icy Gale gets to hold onto his own. So he's going to have a nice little bit of TP advantage, which is going to be pretty useful if anyone wants to fight over a Drake, or if he wants to, take the absolute screws to Endorser up in that top lane and get some, isolated advantages as Vossen pushes on mid, walks on down to jungle, spots out Dunlossie. But bot lane already has the prior, already has the push going on through, so Dunlossie might be looking to do this Drake at some point in the next 20 seconds after just clearing out his bot quadrant. Alternatively, he could just try to rush level 6. Always a good idea.
Yeah, it really is. And we'll keep an eye on that first ultimate from Dunlossie, because it's just so pivotal to how the Nocturne will play out the rest of the game. If it doesn't land, if you can't get an advantage from that first paranoia, then it might be a bit of a rough start or a bit of a rough game from the Nocturne. And you mentioned maybe taking this Drake early on. Riftskull Shrine will now despawn, so we'll be able to pick that up if he decides. But it looks like he's going to go for a full clear, go on to his Wolves now instead. Looks like Christ is going to go for an invade as well.
Yeah, Christ is going for an invade because Kusei blown all of his mana in a favorable trade, but it means he's not going to be able to join in on this fight as the smite comes out from Crisis, securing that one, takes away, and now Dunlossie just, forced out of his own jungle. Can't really continue this trade after the W mark start coming down from Crisis, but yep, Crisis nabs it over. However, could be being punished by Icy Gale.
Yeah, it looks like he might be punished by it, but he takes a big chunk of health as well. Endorser off to the side. Control ward in that pixel brush with Vossen waiting in the wings if he is to be needed. He is level 5, so it doesn't have the impactful shockwave there as we go into a slight pause. So we've been updated by production that is FPS issues by one of the players in the match. So just going to be restarting the PC, and then we'll get into the game. We'll get back into the game as soon as we can.
Dive on in ASAP, and honestly, that's kind of the plan for Dunlossie as well. Get that level 6. Getting those wolves taken away is going to slow that one down a fair bit, actually. I think, he would have hit it after, wolves or after, the crab or something, I think, had he got those. But now he's sort of got to reset and sort of awkwardly wait around for his camps to spawn, do another, 2 camps, and then maybe he hits level 6. But once that comes through, he'll be in a banging spot. Something that we missed whilst we were watching the action down on bot is there's, action sort of all over the map, is there's a real good trade coming out in the mid lane, but did end up blowing the flash out, oh, sorry, not the flash, the cleanse from the Orianna. And that's why Kusei had to recall. He sort of spent all his mana on that one, but no cleanse in the mid lane means that, again, once Dunlossie hits that level 6, there's a prime target there if a bubble comes on through, or the right summoner, the right item is deployed from Zoe's W as well.
Yeah, you have the fear for the Nocturne. If you don't have the cleanse, then you can't really do much about it unless you position your ball correctly, and then you may be able to pull him back using that shockwave. But again, he has a spell shield, so he can completely block that.
It's not the Nocturne you're worried about, it's the bubble, it's the Everfrost.
The bubble
it's the
too, yeah.
it's whatever it is that's coming through from Kusei to set up for the Nocturne. That's the thing you want to get rid of. If you get hit by a bubble, Nocturne ults you, and then you cleanse, you can just sprint under your tower, knock the Nocturne in. He thought he was getting away with something relatively safe, but you've just dragged him across the lane. If you don't have the cleanse, that's not an option, and you're going down pretty quick.
Yeah, and then as the game proceeds, if you get hit with a bubble, you just get that portal jump, you get whacked in the face with a paddle star, and the paddle star chunks you for 3/4 of your health. You're sitting there like, where did my health bar go? How is this balanced? Then you can't really respond because the paddle star has just such an insanely long range, and your auto attacks just can't reach, and your ball doesn't have that much more of a range than your auto attacks do, so it can be quite difficult to actually play around the lane.
Well, no, Bull's got a pretty confident range on it, and
not as much as a paddle star. Definitely not.
Not as much as a paddle star, but the Q definitely outranging the autos, and then also just the fact you leave it in lane, it's very spooky to be near at any point. I mean, just dodge it forehead, right? Just dodge the bubble, dodge the paddle star, but then also if you're Kusei, you overcommit in for a portal jump forwards to hit your ult. Suddenly, Crisis is just jumping on the spot where you're going to snap back to and picking up another free kill. So you have to be a little bit careful if you're Kusei. It's not just guaranteed freebies. There's a bit of action down on bot lane, but Teki not quite able to land out that knock up. Blank and Nysa continue to push on in this wave.
Yeah, we'll be able to get the wave to bounce. Maybe get a little bit of damage on the tower as well for a good measure. Pick up one of these blades.
No, they shouldn't. I mean, they might look for it because they've got Kusei nearby, but Kusei doesn't actually see that Crisis is there. This is a dangerous move for London because, Dunlossie just not on this half of the map. The time he was clearing up, looking at something maybe on top side, but as we said about Dunlossie, he is a little bit short of XP. Not hitting that level 6 just yet, unlike Crisis.
Blade Caller gets the root, but in comes the Volley Bear to the side. Doesn't manage to find the Stormbringer. We'll have to back away.
Yeah, but that was perfect timing from London United to get away from that one. That could have been a bit of a spooker. What with the level 6 of Crisis being secured. However, as we said, Dunlossie finishes up that clear, grabs the crab, resets, gets one more camp because of those wolves being denied, and picks himself up to level 6 as well. Now Paranoia is an option, and you can see that mid and bot are both pushed up to their enemy tower. So now the question is, do they look for that dragon? Blank cancelling his recall indicates this could well be the case, because Dunlossie does not want to farm right now. He wants to do something. He wants to use that ult. Farm whilst the ult is on cooldown. Don't just do your full clear and then look for a play afterwards. So we look for the Drake right now. And with the pressure being applied by both this mid and bot lane, it's pretty easy to solo. As there's actually a shenanigans mid lane Crisis. Flashes over the wall, but Kusei just traced the flash himself.
I mean, do you call that worth for Crisis?
Yeah. Pretty comfortably. I mean, a flashless Zoe is kind of just free kills.
It is, but you're also like, okay, you have no gap closer. If you get hit with a bubble, it's like, okay, you just
don't need it.
Stop everything.
You absorb the bubble with your ult.
It's true, actually.
Yeah, when the bubble's about to time out, you just pop the ult. Or alternatively, the volleyball queue gets reset whenever you get CC'd. If you're in the queue and you get hit with CC, it just comes off full cooldown. So there's options for Crisis there. But he doesn't even need the flash. Like, if the Zoe steps too close to the wall, just ult over the wall, stunner, boom, dead. Like, Volson's Chain seeing that one. It's basically always worth it to trade flashes with a Zoe, no matter how mobile you are. And that's going to be pretty much the play for Crisis as the game continues. However, Dunlossie secured that Drake, yet to drop an ultimate, but clearing out his full jungle leaves him with rare options left. Few other things to do, and, Kusei showing his face up on the top side means that Dunlossie might be looking for this one. The bubble could come through. There it is.
Here's the Paranoia. Stormbringer comes through as well. Managed to survive for a little bit, but the Mundo just has to sit back and watch as his jungler falls.
And there it is. It's a poke comp, but if anyone oversteps or gets hit by a bubble, or in this case does both, that's it. We're sending it. We get the Predator coming on through from Icy Gale. And Dunlossie drops his ultimate as well. And suddenly you're a very dead volley bear. And that's pretty good timing for Dunlossie. He can just go back to farming, pick up his Gromp, reset, head down bot lane. And that ultimate should be coming up after picking up those Krugs, maybe the chickens as well. And it gets him into a good position to maybe even look for, a dive on bot lane. Now that he has a bit of an item advantage and Crisis has blown his ult as Terabyte.
He blows his flash as well. He has to use his ultimate, but he still goes down. Even in tower range, Blank will survive.
Yeah, that's a bit far up for Terabyte, and this just adds on fuel to the fire for Dunlossie to now look to dive bot lane. That's a no heal, no flash, no ult Terabyte. It should be pretty easy to take down. However, Blank and Niza kind of need to reset themselves. But if Dunlossie's really feeling it, it could be an option once his ultimate comes up in about 30 seconds or so. However, Crisis making his way behind the mid lane.
Flashless for this Zoe. He's down to half health. Gonna try and trade one back as the Ignite goes down. He will just fall, and Crisis is the recipient of the kill.
And there it is. Does not matter that Crisis doesn't have flash, because Kusei doesn't either. So it's a pretty
sets
easy
it
one
up.
yeah, just walk in and bop him. That's kind of where we're at. As Crisis and Vossen now making their way up to that Rift Herald, and it's not really that contestable for Dunlossie, but Terabyte and Techie, they do need to be careful. London United are very aware that the entire Demise squad is on the top half of the map, and that's why Kusei is just teleporting bot.
We'll have the bubble. Can he land it? Misses the Palstar as well. The bubble lands down onto the Rakan. He has the flash to try and get to safety if he needs. The flash forward with the piercing arrow is not enough.
Paranoia?
Power diving this just needs a little bit more damage. Paranoia is still 5 seconds away.
Oh, it's up now, but I don't think they have any way to get the vision. Let's have a look-see at Dunlossie. What's going on there? He's not able to get the vision that he needs to find the ult. However, they're still picking up a load of plates for Blank and Niza. It's just that the Herald was secured by Crisis, so he's able to drop that one pretty comfortably down in mid lane and trade back any plates that were secured bot and more. However, Dunlossie staying on the bot side of the map, clearing out this jungle, might just be looking to immediately dive onto Terabyte again. Terabyte, no summoners, no ult. Techie's not even level 5. Chains of Corruption are up, so this could be a very quick dive for London United if Demise want to overstep. They're checking the jungle. They think that maybe Dunlossie is nearby, and they're pretty accurate as they spot him out with the sweeper. And this just means that the first tower is secured by London United, even though the Herald was deployed mid.
And that puts them 2,000 gold in the lead now at 12 minutes, and they're sitting kind of pretty here, just building towards their first time of power spikes as Icy Gale has to pop his ultimate. The Stormbringer comes through as well. The stun is found. Icy Gale down to half health, has to try and piece out using this bush, and it looks like he's just going to fall. Another auto attack, the flash forward to try and finish him off, and Dorser gets the kill.
Oh, pick up that one. Icy Gale a little bit overextended here. However, Dragon coming up in 20 seconds. That's going to be the main priority for London United right now. And Icy Gale does have the teleport to come down and join the fight. Although the same can be said for Endorser. It's just that Endorser won't be. Actually, that might freeze top. This could be a really nice TP for Icy Gale to come and join through. I'm not 100% certain on where that wave is at. It's going to slow push if it's going to freeze. But either way, Icy Gale, he's teleporting in for the flank.
Yeah, but so is Endorser teleporting in. The Paranoia goes down as Icy Gale sees into the midst of the fight. He's down to half health already. He's Dunlossie. He has to try and flash to get away, but Terabyte picks up the kill. They trade one for one so far as that's a beautiful shockwave on the two, but doesn't really get them anything as in goes. Kusei finds the kill onto Icy Gale. They will pick up this Drake as well as the Palstar zones. He flashes forward using that spell thief, gets the stun, gets the kill for Niza, and now Demise have to back away.
Oh. Speed buff coming through, and Icy Gale just picks him up, and now the damage onto Terabyte as well. Kusei, not a lot of mana, but he doesn't need it.
You do not need mana if you're just spelling on him. Uses his real flash to close the gap, gets the paddle star with the auto attack finish.
I say Kusei's missed a lot of Qs this game, pretty egregiously, it has to be said. But in this fight, all the important ones connect, and honestly, it's a bit of a keen start to the fight. It's a poke comp from London United first and foremost. Let's get a bit of poke coming out before we, go overboard with any dive. This fight, instead, they just straight up start it with the jumps from Dunlossie and Icy Gale. But all's well that ends well. You know, Icy Gale lives a pretty reasonable amount of time. Cannot say the same for Dunlossie, who's supposed to be, you know, jumping on into low health targets as opposed to full health ones, and he goes down pretty rapidly. But there's enough range support from the rest of the team that they can clean out the fight relatively easy afterwards, especially as we see that Blank is going for this, you know, more traditional crit, you know, hyper carry type build on that there Varus, as opposed to Poke. So he's looking for a bit more all in, and he's able to really bring the DPS after Dunlossie goes down. As the top lane tower, not destroyed. Which tower just got destroyed? Oh, mid lane. Mid lane tower getting destroyed by Vossen, and no, by Terabyte, close enough. Point is, London United are in a good spot. That's where I'm getting at.
Yeah, they're doing quite well at this point. They've a 3,000 gold lead here, which is decent enough at the 15-minute mark. They have the 2 Drakes to their names, 1 tower to 1, and they got this top lane tier 1 down to half health, and Dunlossie's waiting in the wings in case Endorser wants to go in here. He doesn't have his passive, that was popped by Niza earlier on. The Crisis is towards its top side as well, and here comes the bottom lane rotating over.
And make their way up, but Dunlossie, again, he's got the paranoia, so nobody's trying to make any crazy plays on the side of Demise quite just yet. Bit of a downside here for Icy Gale is that he finds himself in a lane without a tower, which is not where you want to be as the Rengar, because it just makes it a little bit harder to freeze, you know, when the wave can be so far up and away from all your bushes. He's just caught out a bit 1v2.
Yeah, he just face checks into the brush. Icy Gale has to try and dash back, but in comes the Feather Storm with the Blade Collie. Will just finish him off if he wants to use it. Oh, Techie playing it on the edge.
Oh, that's a fair bit of damage coming out from Icy Gale there. Not popping the Ignite. I think he thought he's going to pick that one up with just 1 hit, but... Oh, that's a close one. I think he missed out on some of the healing. I think he only got a 1-man Gore Drinker during that one, and it was a pretty late usage of the Roar as well. So I think there's actually a world where he walks out of that with a little bit more health and therefore a kill. But still, you know, pretty close. Pretty close, I thought, hey. Making that one work is... There's a bit of a slowdown for London United off the back of that one. But there's nothing really to force over quite just yet. You know, we wait for Dunlossie and Icy Gale to jump on in. Especially, again, the Poke part of this comp has now taken a bit of a backseat with Blank playing the older crit, you know, hyper carry type of Varus. You've still got the Kami's. Varus still has decent poke, and you've still got Bubbles, but now it's a little bit more on the all-in side. So we're going to have to wait for things, you know, like the recently spawned Rift Herald to start to be catalysts for any action.
But I feel like this build is a bit better when you're dealing with tanks such as the Mundo and kind of pseudo tanks such as the Volibear, because otherwise the poke is just just kind of tickles them.
Yeah, it sort of depends, right, on how much of a threat the tank actually is. You know, if this is a game where, you know, Terabyte is the only issue, it's like, yeah, just go poke and it doesn't matter about the tanks. But a Volibear and a Mundo aren't the kind of tanks that you can ignore running at you. So being able to DPS them, pretty important here. And with the poke coming out from the Zoe, it's still... The case has not changed for hitting a bubble onto Terabyte is a death no matter what. So somewhat understandable for Blank to come out with just a little bit more in the way of sustained damage up against these tanks. As the Dragon now spawning up in 30 seconds, that is a ultimate predator pop there by Icy Gale, or Unseen Threat, whatever the ult is. I don't remember what it's called. It's the one that makes me spooked when I play ADC, and he's just using that for a little bit of vision, a little bit of utility, scare people away, just zone them off of the Drake, so this team can secure that vision control, and now Demise have to face check on in.
10 seconds until the Drake spawns, have 1 items completed on most of the carries across the board, and that means that Nocturne has hit that 1 item. Power Spike just throwing out a couple cleavers there from Endorser as they're looking to approach this Drake. It hasn't been started off yet by either team. Throws out the Duskbringer there, just chipping away at Endorser's health. He's going to heal up from these honey fruits here. It's just kind of playing dodgeball here.
It's just so scary as the Zhonya's has to be dropped from Christ. He's so low. Wow. Holy moly. Mistiming the Zhonya's on that one. Still getting hit by the Paddle Star. And, you know, with this build, it's not suitable for taking poke. This is an all-in Volibear build. Which is why that is doing just so much damage when the Paddle Star comes on through. And it's such a scary Drake to contest here for Demise because, you know, Icy Gale was able to zone everyone out of his ult. It's completely dark for Demise. They're face checking it entirely and not trying to face check a Zoe. And they just have to back away, give that one up, and yes, they'll secure the Rift Herald for themselves, but now London United are looking at a Ocean Soul point in about 5 minutes, and second Rift Herald isn't really getting Demise all that much, so London United can be pretty happy with where they're at.
Yeah, the secondary Rift Herald might net them a tower taking the top or the bot. It's not really going to get them any real concrete advantages, let's say, like this Ocean Drake did, because it's getting them towards that Ocean Soul point. Once they get that, it'll be almost unstoppable dealing with this Karma composition.
Oh, that's going to be real spooky. Again, this is... Okay, it's no longer fundamentally a poke comp, but there's still poke involved, which is not really what you want versus the old Ocean Soul, and that's just going to make Vossen's poke so much weaker as well. Having that sustain, it means that Icy Gale and Dunlossie can look for a bit more psychopathic plays, because as long as they don't die, they can sort of heal up afterwards. It gets a little bit spooky for Demise, but also the Baron now up and on the table. And I think very much an option for London United once they finish off these second items. The Phantom Dust are already there for Blank. I think that Kusei isn't that far off of his Void Staff, just sort of on instinct, I'm thinking that one. Dunlossie might have a little bit further to go, but once those second items start coming on through for everyone except Dunlossie, whose job is basically just ult in and bop someone, it's a very scary time for Demise.
Yeah, very difficult to be playing out this game at this stage. You have that Verdant Barrier fish for Vossen building towards that second item for himself. Already has that tier fully stacked, so once you have that, then you might be able to do something. But once again, Kusei caught out a flash. The flash form from Crisis as he goes golden. Nysa is there, just going to try and keep him alive. He actually manages to get out. What? He survives. In goes the paranoia now as Kusei actually manages to find a kill there in that exchange. Goes in with the quickness now, charming up 3 members of the side of London United. You'll try and trade some damage back to Nosu. Will manage to get away as the root goes down onto the Zaya. Has to get the flash and the Feather Storm to safety as Blank picks up the kill. In Dorsey, he's down to half health already. He has to pop his ult just to try and get away. The flash also available, so he will manage to get out. But Kusei survives, and they find 3 kills.
Oh, the Zonya's coming out a little bit late, it has to be said, but keeps him alive long enough for Nysa to rock up just in time to shield him. Gets the shield off as well before Kusei dies. That keeps Kusei alive just long enough to nab the flash, which he stole from someone. Has to be said, he whiffed the flash entirely. He flashed on the spot. It's pretty painful. But he was able to then use the move speed that you get after using that stolen flash to juke out a couple of things, get away from Crisis, and stay alive in that fight as the rest of the team turned up. Icy Gale teleporting in. Dunlossie drops the paranoia. Very easy to collapse when you've got those 2 cooldowns available to yourself. And London United clean out that fight. Pick themselves up the Baron as well, and now 2 towers do stand in the mid lane, but it has to feel like it's not going to be for very long.
Yeah, with that Baron-empowered push, it's going to be pretty difficult to try and shove back the wave. You have a little bit of wave clear from Terabyte and from Vossen, but besides that, not really much to speak of. Can't really step forward to even get rid of that cannon, just throws out the double daggers there just to clear it away. But in comes the rest of the wave, and that tower just drops.
Yeah, this one's going to go down pretty rapidly. I mean, Dunlossie had to reset out a bit of gold on him to spend there, but not too necessary for that tower. And, tower's going to die with or without him, and you can always just, take the ult back on in. Now, one ward did sneak on by there. I think that Nysa, doesn't clear that one out. The sweeper runs out, so there's a little bit of information handed over to Demise when it comes to where it is or is not safe to be contesting this Drake, but they might not get that far as Kusei is still putting out the poke, managing the threat, and Herald's spawned, but it's not really going to do all too much here. Taken out pretty rapidly as Icy Gale. Oh, never mind. All right, Icy Gale gets a tower bot, but Kusei gets a kill on mid. There's just 30 seconds on that Drake. Demise, what can you really do here?
If you spawned the Rift Herald top lane, or if you were in the base and just did abide that top lane tier 3, then he would just be walking down that lane, provide a little bit of pressure. I wouldn't say the Techie would have survived that, but...
I mean, it would provide pressure, but it wouldn't, because no one on
no one is going to go handle it, but it might get you some damage on that top lane tier 1, and
What-
it means that it
what
wouldn't just instantly get blown up in mid lane.
What it does is it
Better.
stops London United taking this tier 2, but at the same time, London United never look at the tier 2 because they're going for the Drake on the opposite side of the map anyway. So, no real world where that Herald ends up being all too useful for Demise once they got to this state of the game. But that's a lot of towers, a lot of gold being picked up by London United, and they get themselves the Ocean Soul. And now, you know, you look at Blank and he's building towards the Wit's End, which is absolutely huge because there's so much magic damage coming out here. You know, Endorser has a heavy source of magic damage. Crisis is very big on the magic damage. You know, he's Volibear, so it's mostly physical, but getting the Zhonya's in gives him a lot of AP, and getting the, you know, the Sky Splitter and the Lightning is magic damage based as well. So there's just a lot of things that are keeping Blank just that little bit extra alive. And then the Ocean Soul starts ticking in, and suddenly he's healing up to full, and he's putting out huge amounts of damage onto that front line. Like we said, he's kind of the threat that deals with Endorser and Crisis right now. But once he finishes off that Wit's End, or even without it, now he's just got the Negatron. He's kind of chilling. That's a very hard to kill Varus, and that's not even considering the Karma that will be stacked on top of it.
And then you have your engage/disengage from your ultimate as well, so trying to lock him down will be really, really difficult to do unless Vossen can position his ball correctly, get a shockwave onto him. But again, Nyza with this Karma has 2 items, will just buff him up, make him almost impossible to kill. We saw it earlier on with Kusei actually managing to survive in that lane and get a kill in top lane earlier on. So it's going to happen again with Blank, and with that Wit's End finally completed, he'll be doing extra magic damage and will be surviving a lot easier.
He's coming up with the 3 items. We've got the 2 for Kusei, although maybe we want to wait for Kusei to get that Zhonya's because we've seen how much work Stopwatch put in before. Right now, it feels like London United is just sort of timing out the Baron, which was already run out. And so Steam has fallen off a little bit for London United. They might want to just wait for that Baron to come back up before trying again on these inhibs, but bearing in mind the Baron's got like a minute and a half on it, you could just make some sort of crazy play now, and if it fails, it's like, we'll still be up in time for the Baron, but that's not going to leave you in the most comfortable spot when it comes to setting up for vision control. So I think we chill out a little bit, play a little bit slower. Dunlossie finishing off his Cleaver, you have to imagine, which is also going to be pretty nutty when it comes to getting through Endorser and Crisis. And again, it's just looking to be a very spooky situation for Demise right now, and maybe even spookier in 1 minute and 15 seconds when that Baron's on the table.
So what do you do as Demise to try and close out this game? Well, to try and get back into this game, since you are an 8,000 gold deficit. And I mean, you have Aranduin's now on Endorser, which will help with these auto attacks. You have your Bramble Vest building towards that Spirit Visage. Is there any bright side or any way back in for Demise? Is there any way to try and play out this game?
See, you're thinking about team fights. You know, looking at the
That's
Randuins.
kind of what London United have been trying to do.
Yeah, that's not where Demise are at. What Demise need to do is to set up vision control, secure areas of the map, and then just look for picks. You know, there's no Zhonya's on Kusei yet. We've seen that he has been a little bit vulnerable to the Volibear, you know, a couple of times in this game. No Zhonya's either, or Stopwatch to get any of those shenanigans down there on Blank's Varus either. So if you're on Demise, you just try set up vision where you can and look to just make picks onto those squishies, get carries back into the game, try and get some more gold onto Vossen. Terabyte is just ultimately never really going to be allowed to play the game because there isn't a front line for him to hit. It's either people diving onto him or poking him from 3 miles away, so Terabyte just never gets in range to actually do anything. But if you can funnel gold onto Vossen or you get Endorser to be an unkillable state, then fine. You just need to try and make picks where you can to get the gold into them, and you're going to have to do that for 10 minutes but quite a few times, whilst also being worried about this Baron in just 10 seconds, where whilst the Mice have the inside track, they've got the mid lane prio. Now they have to, blindly face check into the river, into this jungle. It's a little bit scary, and one bubble is all it's going to take. They try to force.
The bubble lands, will manage to stop Techie in his tracks. In comes the Paranoia as well. The teleport was channeled by ICGL, so he's there in the fight as the Stormbringer is used. Has to use the flash and the ultimate from Terabyte just to try and survive, but ICGL, he's into the backline. He got the kill, and he's down to half health, looking for the second kill of the fight. Now is Endorsi, he is the target. In goes Dunlosi, he finds the damage, but he doesn't find the kill just yet. Kusei manages to pick off the Mundo even through his flash. That's a double kill for the Zoe. Make it a triple, baby. That is it. Just has the volley bear alive to try and defend.
And that's ICGL showing his comfortableness on this champion. That's why the Rengar gets banned out, because he gets into the fight, and then he just sits there. He just does nothing. It's all he needs to do. Because Demise are so scared of him jumping out. Where's he going to be? They're all clumping up. They're terrified. They're grouping together. They're getting taken down. And then eventually, once Terabyte gets out, ICGL's biding his time. Boom pops out. One bangs the man. And moves on to the rest of the fight. Meanwhile, the rest of London United are just putting out so much damage again. Blank and Kusei bring the sustained DPS onto the distracted Demise, who are trying to deal with this Rengar on their backline, and they end up falling short on both fronts.
London United, they're going to back away. 47 seconds until Infernal Drake spawns. Sorry, not Infernal Drake. Elder Drake. I apologize for that. Which will give them that buff.
It's not just me.
Have to execute. Yeah, it's not just you.
I said that like 3 times on Thursday. I
don't know how I thought Infernal and
because
Elder same thing, but yeah, they do.
But there's fire involved, you know, sort of. It's the whole thing, man.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But okay, Elder Drake spawns in 18 seconds time. Demise are preparing for this as London United have started off onto the Baron. We heard earlier on that the Elder Drake is just so much better. It seems like a weird trade.
Yeah, this is a kind of a weird trade to make for London United, unless they think that Demise are so slow. Oh my god, they actually are so slow. Holy, it's worked out. Oh, okay, they're just going to contest both.
In comes the teleport now from the Mundo. You have ICGL going in. He's 1 versus 4. He manages to find the solo kill. What is this? Rengar. Blank picks up first kill of the fight for him. The double kill for the Rengar. He is just so damn comfortable on this champion. Crisis goes golden. And he thought he was going to be the target. He thought he was going to be run down. And he will, in the end, ICGL look at the chase for the kill. But the base is going to crumble. Crisis just dancing. It's a dance-off, bro. Me and you. The ace comes through. London United will take down Demise.
How is ICL alive in the middle of 5 people there?
Gore drinker,
4 people.
man. Or
big moves doesn't waste the again, just showing he's comfortable in champion. I feel like a lot of people, the second they get charmed in the middle of 4 people like that, just immediately pop the empowered savagery or the empowered raw.
Yeah.
But he's like, nah, don't need to cleanse that CC. I'd rather hold it for the heal, and that's why he's able to just live in the middle of 4 people, pick up the kill, get loads of healing, get good. That's ridiculous. That's a man who's comfortable on this Rengar. He got 2 kills, 1v4, and he lives. Doesn't even blow his GA in the process. That is ridiculous. But at the end of the day, he's able to secure the dub and move away from that tied spot in 2nd place.
I was having a couple of Twitter DMs with Lucendi's head coach, Danny, and I was saying how I didn't really rate Demise that highly because they keep not learning from their mistakes. They're kind of still trying to shake those mistakes off. And then it was just like, okay, I understand what you're saying, but I don't really get why you wouldn't rate them that highly. That game, Danny, look at that game. That is why I don't rate Demise that highly. They're from a very storied org, one that was in the division higher than the UKEL, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be winning every game. That doesn't mean that you're a good team or that you don't make mistakes. And Demise are just getting punished every time for the mistakes that they are making. I think that is their 2nd loss in a row. So they need to start learning from these mistakes if they want to be making playoffs, because they can't keep dropping games like this.
Yeah, we're really running out of time before those playoffs wrap around. I think we have 2 more weeks.
2 more weeks, yeah.
2 more weeks, yeah.
Week 6 and then week 7, and then we have playoffs.
Yeah. So that's only working out about 4 games, right? Maybe even 3.
Yeah, it should be right? two games each week, right? Yeah, so it should be 4 games.
but we play not an odd number of games, right? But like
odd number of weeks.
Oh yeah, odd number of weeks.
Yeah, so that's 14 games in total.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, each 7 weeks, and you play each team twice. There's 7 teams. That all checks out. Yeah, 4 games for these teams.
Checks out. We got there. We got there in the end.
No, I got 151 out of where out of 300 in my maths A level, and 150 was a pass. So,
nice.
you know, I sort of gave up on most points in my life. But hey, I got
Once you
it.
get
A
to college,
dub's a
a pass
dub.
is a pass, you know?
Yeah, a dub was a dub in that situation.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be just about it from us here at the UKEL
Before we
Week
do
5
go,
Day 2. We do,
I would
yeah.
like to shout out
yeah.
our after show. Milcott specifically asked me to shout out the after show.
I
so
was going to
stick
be more
around.
tactful than that, but yeah, we have been desperately asked by Middlecott. Just please, guys, please.
Shout out the
us
after
out.
show. Yeah, so stick around. We're going to be hosting the after show from Middlecott. I'm not on it this week. I'm actually going to be over on the LJLOU. So whichever one you want to be watching, it's up to you.
Well,
yeah,
right.
I have to sell out myself here. So that will be it from us at the UKEL for this week. Join us again next week for more UKEL action. Stick around for the after show or go over to the LJLOU, whichever you want. We'll see you guys very, very soon.